Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the After Hours Gaming League. We've got a great match ahead of us today. Google versus Microsoft. We're going to be going into a best of three here in the grand finals of the Dota 2 After Hours Gaming League. These two corporate teams have been battling out through a single elimination 32 team bracket. Now these two teams, eliminating many others on their road to the finals here, are pitted up against one another in competition for a $1,200 prize to the charity of their choice. So looking over at the number 1 seed undefeated finalist, Team Google, their model, Don't Be Grievel. They're going to be playing on behalf of Doctors Without Borders, the international organization, nonprofit that provides medical services and supplies to those in need in situations like natural disasters and military conflicts. Looking at their opponents, Microsoft, they are the number 3 seeded team, making it their way here, and it's mid and feed is the subtext for this team. Their motto, Ending World Hunger in the mid lane. And they're actually going to be playing for the Bungie Foundation. So for those that don't know, it's a pretty unique organization. Its goal is to reduce the distress and suffering of children through entertainment. For example, by supplying things like iPads to a children's hospital wing in order to entertain them while they're hospitalized. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty intense matchup between these two teams. A lot of them are software engineers, so you can kind of expect the numbers aspect of it will be really strong in their minds. They just have that aptitude for analysis and trying to really take the strategic approach to these games. We'll be bringing it back over to interview captains and spokespeople for the pregame of this matchup here between these two teams. So starting things off with the Google spokesperson, Yash. I'm going to bring him in on Skype, and let's talk a little bit about the match. Can you hear me, Yash?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, so talk to me a little bit about what you are expecting in this matchup. Going into it, you guys are looking really strong, undefeated. Do you feel confident in this patch and against this team?
Yeah, I mean, we're undefeated, so I feel pretty confident. We're just looking to have some good games, not draft bad, and yeah, just have fun.
Awesome, awesome. Obviously, fun's a huge part of it too, so glad that you guys are enjoying the time that you get to take your Dota skills and put it to the test against these other organizations. So now looking at this patch, and I was looking at a few notes based on your gameplay in and through the tournament, and it shows this kind of aggressive snowbally style where you like to gank a lot. Does 6.84 pretty much is all about that? I mean, obviously there's still some comeback mechanics, but overall there's a lot of momentum driving it. Do you guys feel stronger in this patch than in the previous one?
Yes and no. So like we have very strong farming players. Our carry player is a very strong farmer. So that's one thing we don't really like about the new patch. But at the same time, we're very aggressive. Like we buy lots of blink daggers, for example, and we tend to go like all in pushes and constant balls to the wall aggression. So I guess that part of the patch is good for us.
Awesome. Now, I was noting that a lot of you guys are software developers or in that kind of general field. Do you feel that anything that you take in your career paths can be applied to the game itself?
Maybe like being able to properly analyze the game, like looking at numbers and stuff, instead of just, like being able to think more analytically about the game and stuff like that, and having more of like a concrete game plan helps us a lot.
Awesome, and it's going to be great to catch you guys. Can't wait to see your team in action. And now we're going to turn it over to Zen, the captain of Microsoft Mid and Feed. How's it going, man?
Hey, David, it's going fine.
So, a similar question along those lines, how confident are you going into this match? Obviously, you did lose out against Google earlier in the tournament. Now, what are your thoughts going into this kind of rematch?
Well, we've taken a more proactive approach at looking and analyzing previous matches here. I believe I'm very confident in my team. I'm not playing in it, but we have been practicing and analyzing replays. We are very strong in the lanes. We're very good at our core skills. Each player has a particular specialization. And I'm confident we'll have a good fun match with Google. Hopefully not more than 2 hours a game per match.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah, so the new patch is a lot faster tempo in terms of game time. In 6.83, we saw some games go an hour long, maybe even 2 hours long, and that was very frustrating. Now, we rarely see anything go beyond even 45 minutes. Is that actually better when you're trying to, meet a hectic schedule, a lot of planning time around work and anything outside of work? Is it preferable to kind of be able to queue in and know you're not going to be in for the long haul?
I think that's definitely going to help there. I mean, especially when some matches happen during the weekdays. Though all of us are Dota buffs, so games come before work sometimes, and sometimes people do get sick.
Definitely. So your team's been pretty stable as far as what we've seen from them. Do you think that they're going to be able to perform at the level they need to take down Google?
Definitely. They've been prepping a lot, and I believe that all of them are fairly confident, though cautious, but yes.
All right, man. Well, it should be fun. It's going to be great to cast your team and see them in action as well. So I guess we're going to be getting onto the game shortly. I'm going to bring it over to a quick wait screen, and we will be jumping into the match very soon, guys. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the After Hours Gaming League. We're going into Game 1 between Microsoft and Google, and we are going to be seeing these two teams face off here in 6.84C. So, going into this next matchup here, we're going to be seeing these two teams in action. We've got Darkseer and Broodmother banned out initially, Viper and Wraith King taken off the table, Storm Spirit, Undying, Drow, and Ember all banned out, and now we're going into this match seeing their picks. Thanks for tuning in again. I myself am Blaze, and I'm not going out alone. I am joined by a wonderful co-caster here. Would like to warmly welcome to the broadcast Vykromond. How's it going, man?
It's going great, Blaze. How about you?
Well, a little tired. It's been an interesting shuffle from Chinese Dota schedule. Now checking out things in the Pacific region of the United States. But, I mean, these corporate teams, they're ready to rumble on pretty much their perfect time zone. And now we're going to be seeing them in play with a very active roster here. Queen of Pain, Lion, IO Tiny. A lot of mobility drafted up by Microsoft here. But, of course, there's a lot of initiation potential from the side of the Centaur, Warrunner, and Earthshaker as well. With, of course, the hard carry of the Gyrocopter.
Yeah, absolutely. Neither lineup especially surprising. I think they're playing lineups that are fairly standard for the patch that we're on. Queen of Pain, obviously one of the top tier heroes, Gyrocopter. All these are very, very high priority picks. Maybe the only thing you kind of wouldn't always expect is a Centaur Warrunner this early for the Google team. But their self-described goal in all their games so far has just been to out-mobility the other team, get a bunch of heroes that work really well with Blink Dagger, let you run over, and try to just sort of win on skill and positioning alone. And this is the sort of lineup you do when you're going for that sort of strategy. It's served them well. I think they're 18-0 so far this season, probably somewhat of a favorite over the Microsoft team. And of course, both organizations had multiple teams in the league. And these are the best of each. So the best Microsoft team against the best Google team, the best Pacific Northwest against the best Bay Area. the best hottest tech company of 1991 versus the best hottest tech company of 2001.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, and now they're obviously showing off a little bit of genius here with some very advanced drafting, some very advanced just mentality going into this, showing that they are ready to go with the new meta strats. Gyrocopter's been very prominent in this new patch. Queen of Pain is like pretty much the hero to get if you want to dominate your lanes and show a lot of burst damage. So I'm really excited to see what they can do with these heroes in particular. Obviously, I think we're going to see kind of a quiet laning phase from Microsoft until they get a couple of good levels behind them. But very quickly, it's just going to be of them rolling forward with some great mobility tools, blink daggers, and just finding new kill opportunities all over the place. So it's going to be really fun, it's going to be really active, and we'll see how it works out here. But finding the last couple of picks here, it's mostly focusing on Disable. Legion Commander, with her obvious potential to lock down an opponent with the ultimate, and that's going to be a perfect setup for the duel. So hopefully Figleaf can perform well in the offlane enough to get the Blink Dagger, and when they do that, they can initiate all over the map on pretty much any target they want. But we're going to also see the Beastmaster get picked up, and that's a great hero to lock down maybe the Queen of Pain or the Tiny and allow the Death Ward and the Gyrocopter to really go into effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you look at Microsoft's team, and you see these three heroes, Queen of Pain, Lion, Legion, and then these two heroes, Tiny Io. It's really just about those three heroes making space for those two heroes. The Morris playing the Tiny, I think they say that that's their strongest player overall, so they're giving him a hero that, if the game goes long enough, is going to be really, really hard to answer overall. And the rest of the players, it's really just their task to try to prevent this Beastmaster, Earthshaker, Centaur situation from rolling over them so that the Tiny can get the space that he needs. And I know that they also, Microsoft, who's their fifth player? Oh yeah, Flaming Panda. I think he's actually a Wisp spammer in pubs, so he should be pretty adept with that hero. Google, I mean, it really is just with their general game plan. Run around, make 3 Blink Daggers, try to prise open the Microsoft defense. Legion's probably their target. If they can make Legion have a really bad game, then it'll be very hard for Microsoft to open up the map for Tiny and Wisp to do very well. You're probably going to see Google target the Legion constantly for the first several minutes and try to get her to have a really bad start. So a lot rides on Figleaf.
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, obviously there's a lot across the board that has to be coming into play here to really make things work. In general, they're just going to have to learn to control NWA. This Gyrocopter player is pretty much one of the most stable carries you're going to find, and he has so much potential to build himself up for success, just getting a lot of early farm and turning that into a ton of momentum. And Gyrocopter's a hero that you can really start snowballing with quickly. You get some mobility items like maybe phase boots and drums. Of course, you can get some good bread and butter items like the Helmet of the Dominator too, and you'll find yourself in a really good spot where you're able to just find great kill opportunities. And like you said, it comes down a lot to Figleaf's choice of battles, but when you're up against all these really powerful ultimates and the Gyrocopter who can kind of stand and deliver, just start with Rocket Barrage and kind of go from there, there's going to be very few good fights unless you have some really good map vision and you really exploit the mobility aspect of your team.
Yeah, the Legion pick is going to be pretty difficult to leverage. I'm going to be watching that pretty closely. She's not that strong of a solo offlaner. You're against a pretty solid tri-lane that can definitely get kills in the form of the Witch Doctor, Earthshaker, and the other issue is Gyro is just amazing in a 1v1 context too. He's kind of able to solo push the Legion out or even maybe get a kill. But even if they had swapped, so I thought maybe something they'd do is maybe put the Queen bot or something. Even Queen of Pain is not amazing against Gyro simply because if you tag her with the homing missile and she blinks into trees, which is one of the ways to always survive as a Queen offlane, you know, the homing missile, true to its name, is just going to follow her right into the trees. So they've gone with a very standard, basically the exact lanes you'd expect, the dual mid, Tiny Io, dual top, and then the Legion offlane. And the weakest of those three is definitely the Legion offlane.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, compare that to the Centaur and how much experience he's going to get here. He's only being zoned out, really, by the Lion. Obviously, Queen of Pain can get aggressive on him with the Blink and Shadow Strike, and still it could be maybe him spilling the first blood, but overall he's going to get a lot more experience directly now that we're looking at the camp getting unlocked by the Earthshaker. Gets a nice Sentry Ward out, is able to allow for the 2-minute creep spawn, and that's going to just make it so that he can really deny this Legion Commander her experience. She'll be able to prevent push, but when she's just being zoned out and worried about getting caught out by the Fisher, the Line Fisher across, then it's just going to make it that much easier for our ROG to make it so that she doesn't get that level 6 early.
Pretty smart. Very solid counter ward positioning by the Earthshaker here. Didn't get it on the first, but you know, sometimes you need both. And the second Sentry ward was very good, and he knew that he knew to cut in and see where the ward was. So smart overall. They do have the Witch Doctor roaming up and trying to generate a decent enough lane for the Beastmaster. So that does mean that the Legion has actually started pretty well. So he's actually already level 3. That makes you very, very happy as a Legion player here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's already going to go for a 2-1-0 build, and actually going to get a nice Sentry Ward out here. He's going to be able to deny the Observer Ward in the lane, and that makes it very hard to know when rotations are coming in. So they could get an assisted kill pretty easy with like a Queen of Pain rotating at level 6.
Yeah, actually, for Microsoft, this is pretty good. It looks like this ward actually, I think, blocked.
Oh, really?
Too.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. Yeah, that camp is on lockdown there. The spawn box just... it's going to be clipping just barely within that Sentry Ward range, and that means that they're not going to be able to really control the Creequilibrium. It's going to push out, and the Legion Commander is going to be able to manage it very nicely down here, getting some free experience.
Yeah, on the flip side, what's good for Google is that the Centaur is getting free XP here too. Bit of a mistake, I feel, from Microsoft. It doesn't look like they actually camp blocked at all, so I would have pulled a little more aggressively as line in this situation, tried to really pull the lane way, way back and put Centaur in a more uncomfortable position, but even then, since you have a Wisp in the mid and it's just Lion, Queen of Pain, and Lion's not a good solo, he's not able to zone effectively, as you said earlier, the Centaur is going to be just as happy as the Legion is. And these are two heroes that are both not very good offlaners, so the fact that they're both having a pretty good time is important for their respective teams.
I also like the fact that Centaur is going to go ahead and bite the bullet a little bit, get the tangos out early here, doesn't just go greedily for the boots of speed. If he does that, sure, he gets the faster tranquil boots, but it's more likely that he's just going to die. Speaking of IO getting caught out here, there's going to be a cast bouncing to the creep here, and the tether does not pull Flaming Panda out, wasn't far enough away, so the last right click's coming in, and actually the Radiant will finish it off. So split among 3. They will get the first blood, but a return kill nicely done by the Tiny.
Yeah, so definitely getting what is good Beastmaster. Melees tend to have a pretty hard time against that Tiny Wisp mid, so the fact that they're able to go in and kill the Wisp, IO didn't make it out, as you said, is great for them. The flip side is he does get a free bottle charge off of that, so it's actually not that consequential, and the Tiny being able to get the solo kill XP and gold back is... Actually, I think they kill the Beastmaster here.
They're doing quite a lot of damage. The Spirits are going to bring him very low here, but it looks like they won't be able to finish it off. The Spirits aren't orbiting far enough. The Witch Doctor cast locks down Flame Panda. Actually, with this haste rune, they actually are going to be able to do a lot of damage to these low armor heroes, but in the end, he is going to have to retreat. Meanwhile, Centaur on the top lane does get picked off here. Queen of Pain does drop very low in the process, but they are able to get that kill, so nice combo there from the Lion and the Queen of Pain.
Very, very clutch play by the Witch Doctor to come back with a haste rune. I don't think they could really afford to lose the Beastmaster. It would mess up the control of 2 lanes, essentially. So while the Earthshaker rotated top to help out Centaur, maybe slightly belatedly, but still the right idea, the Witch Doctor comes back and totally bails out the Beastmaster and manages to survive himself.
Legion Commander actually drops down quite quickly, barely getting out the heals to walk away from this Gyrocopter. He was even diving the tower a little bit there. I think if the Gyrocopter had phase boots, it's more likely for him to get that kill, just closing in faster, more rocket barrage, and more right-click damage. But
yeah, but it's just a question of, like, how much do I want to win the lane versus how useful do I want to be later. I would much rather have after the laning phase ends, power treads against Queen of Pain Tiny is going to be pretty important, so you have that extra HP buffer.
Definitely. I mean, really, the longer you live, the better it's going to be, as you have like things like the Voodoo Restoration to bring you back up. You want the fights to last longer. You don't want to be burst down in just a few seconds, and that 9 strength could be the difference maker here. So good that he's going to be able to build himself up a bit defensively. But as far as last hits go, let's just check in. 28 and 16 for the Gyrocopter, 23 and 15. A lot of denies here on the Queen of Pain, but just a little bit behind the Gyro on bottom. Now we have the Beastmaster at 19 and 10, actually performing quite well considering his lane.
Yeah, on the pure mechanics side, I think you have to slightly favor Google. I believe they're a little... Oh, actually, they picked off Witch Doctor at the rune. It was very... Whenever you're trying to get rune against a Tiny Wisp, it's very risky, because they can just... If the Tiny happens to be close enough to rotate over, then he and the Wisp can kill you very quickly. So that was a little iffy on the Witch Doctor, but yeah, their carry player, just a very, very solid carry player, is always going to farm up well. Whereas I don't know if... Oh, actually, this is trouble, though. I think he loses this duel.
Yeah, we're going to see him go very low, and then he's going to just narrowly slip through that. The Strength Tread's actually helping out quite a bit, along with the Helm of the Iron Will, able to keep him up just alive long enough that he will not go down to the duel itself. So although he does die, he doesn't feed that attack damage momentum the way of Fig Leaf, which is very, very important. And, yeah, I mean, the Witch Doctor rune pick up there, I mean, it's just, well, it would be okay in many situations with the Beastmaster behind him, but because the Beastmaster is lacking Roar right now, Ominous Hedge just has the Boar Slow, he really can't do anything to help out a lowly support. Up top, it is going to be the Centaur going back to the lane here. I saw him move back here into the tree line, Shadow Striked, and I expected that he'd probably just kind of either wait out for a very long time here for the Trinket Boots to really kick in, or just fall back to base entirely. But he sticks around, he gets punished, and meanwhile down bottom, we're going to see that nice Fissure and Paralyzing Cast connect and bring down that Legion Commander. So now it's going to be a kill count of 2 to 5. Who do you kind of favor getting based on kill momentum? Do you think that there's going to be one team that's stronger coming into the mid-game?
Yeah, I think Microsoft is doing better than a lot better than maybe I was expecting them to be at this point. So I think that they have the momentum because they've already generated a pretty reasonable amount of space, and also critically, they've slowed down. They slowed down two things immeasurably. Centaur is not even that close to 6 yet. He's about to hit 5 with the next creep, and Gyro died, so he's not able to ramp into the Helm of the Dominator, etc., as quickly as he'd like. So I think that's very, very good news for Microsoft. This Legion, even with that death, is doing great.
Yeah.
And Google, I'm actually pretty surprised. I feel like their Witch Doctor player, Gale Frost, has really done very little. And they noted in their sort of team profile on the AHGL site that he likes roaming. And I think maybe this was not the game to roam. I think if the Witch Doctor and Earthshaker just camp bottom, Legion could be like level 3 right now. And instead he's almost level 8 with like, you know, a quarter second off of winning a duel too, which is not where they wanted.
The strength of the Beastmaster in the mid lane versus the Tiny Wisp is just how tanky he is. How he's just able to kind of stay back and sit on the lane, get some long-range CS with Wild Axes, and otherwise not worry about it too much. They don't want to win that lane, they just want to lose it a little bit less with 2 heroes committed. But the Witch Doctor kind of forced the issue there, and it ended up costing them a little bit of their potential on the bottom. And now this Tiny is looking really big. If you look at the Dire jungle, actually, you're going to see a lot of stacked creep camps, especially on the east, and that's going to be just delicious for the Tiny very, very soon.
That's the Agent Too Fuzzy on Microsoft has done a lot more work than any of the other supports in the game, I feel. I mean, Wisp is in the middle, he's doing his job, but I don't think that the Google supports have been that as... I think they could have just been more proactive about winning their one lane instead of this focus on roaming, where even with the Witch Doctor, you're not going to win this lane, and even if the Witch Doctor isn't there, you're not going to lose the lane. Like, Beastmaster... You're picking this hero because he's just, you know, solid as heck. He's not going to really dominate or lose. So I think as a result, if Microsoft are able to leverage this great stacking that Agent Too Fuzzy has been doing, they're going to rocket way, way ahead. And then I'm going to actually be pretty scared for Google. They're going to become very gyrocopter dependent because they're not getting that mobility as quickly as they'd like on their other heroes.
A little bit of overcharge and some bottle slips coming through to keep the Morris up after that roar. This is actually a lot of ultimates being expended without actually connecting on a kill. If you saw top lane, there was actually a Finger of Death and a Sonic Wave going down on the Centaur, and he just limps away. So the fact that he's able to survive through those 2 ultimates really helps the team as a whole. The Boar, obviously it's unfortunate, doesn't kill off the Tiny there, but it's also not the longest cooldown, and he's got a lot of bottle restoration flowing, generally speaking. So I would definitely say the top lane commitment and that long cooldown of Finger of Death is going to be what Microsoft misses the most.
Yeah, but on the other hand, yeah, they don't get the kill, but Centaur had to leave the lane, right? And isn't he still not level 6 as a result?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, no kill, yeah, it sucks, but I think you're happy just because the Centaur remains under-leveled, remains under-farmed. This is really the pitfall of Centaur, and especially an early draft position Centaur like this. I just don't know how easy it is to keep this hero alive and productive in the off lane. Some teams run him safe lane, which I think might actually be more fruitful at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously has a completely different tempo to the game, and it can really create some new opportunities. We're going to see, however, a combo come out on the Gyrocopter here. Early Hex coming out, and now where they're going to just combo up their spells, but a nice Paralyzing Cast bouncing between 2. They can't do any damage in the duel, and now they're taking massive damage in return. The call down, the Fissure, and Fig Leaf on the run. There will be a Tiny relocating in, looking to help out his allies here, but he's just far enough away that he's not able to do too much. Going for the combo here, but the Echo Slam Aftershock delaying the toss, and he won't get the bonus damage. So instead the Wisp goes down, and Tiny is left all alone. Now the homing missile will home in on the target, the Tiny, and it doesn't look like he'll make it all the way back home. I mean, the Queen of Pain might be able to TP, but she couldn't do anything as they go for the dive. Still the line coming in, trying to turn it around. Gyrocopter going to get hexed, the Fisher, and the Axe is killing off the Tiny, but the Gyrocopter now being picked off by the Queen of Pain. So they rotate everything, they get a lot going for them, and a very delayed usage of the Stampede. I'm not sure if Nova was able to get that on point, but all the same, I mean, great kill momentum just by counter ganking there in the jungle.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I kind of said that it wasn't a big deal that they lost Finger, but that's what it is, a big deal.
Exactly.
You can't really even go for that if you don't have Finger. Nice use of Roar there by the Beast. Roar, Max Wild Axes, 2 Boars. Definitely enough to kill a Queen of Pain who started at half health. Yeah, you can't really go for that duel if you don't have Finger. And then, of course, the great heads-up play from Witch Doctor to hit the paralyzing cast.
Oh, that was huge, man. Just bouncing every single time, just getting the perfect play out. Now we're going to see a nice toss initiation here. Double TPs coming in. Beastmaster, tanky as he is not going to be able to survive this one, and they really can't do anything without a blink on the Centaur. Like, they'll come back into the lane, but they're already gone. They get their kill, they walk away happy, and they do, of course, use the Finger, but this time it nets them a frag. They get the momentum they want, and overall, I think that they're pretty comfortable in this position in this game. And the Sonic Wave still in reserve.
Legion. What are you doing, Legion?
Yeah, I saw that earlier. I wasn't so sure about it. Now the cask is going to bounce again here, back over to 3 different heroes, but at least the Legion can walk away. It's just not forced to commit. And although it was an awkward movement, considering they just used so many cooldowns earlier, it's still okay and no harm, no foul.
Yeah. Pretty pointless TPs overall for the Earthshaker Centaur. They don't have Stampede, they don't have Echo Slam. What can you possibly do? You're probably not going to save the Beastmaster, but I think that's a decent kill for Microsoft. Doesn't really affect the pace of the game. Basically, with the 4-for-1 trade that Google got, they basically fixed the position where it was like, is Gyro even going to be able to carry this? Because now he's got a comfortable buffer. He's quite a bit ahead of the Tiny. He has Helm of the Dominator. I assume they're going to start stacking Ancients soon if they haven't already, and the Gyro is going to have the potential to leap way ahead and be very difficult to deal with, which is what they need.
Close call on the Queen of Pain. The Stampede comes out, and they actually try to bring down the Quap with the Centaur stun. Unfortunately, unable to connect, and that is going to allow the Queen of Pain to just blink away. In the meantime, though, they do get the Roar kill on the mid, so at least they get something, but all the same, they wanted more. They really want that Queen of Pain, who's right now pretty much tied with Tiny in 2nd place for net worth.
No kill on Quap. I mean, they still get a kill. Beastmaster's now sort of solidly in that position where he can roar people. And it's actually really important for them to get kills on Beastmaster so that they have this alternate way of getting kills other than just balling up with Gyro. Actually, I think they got the Centaur top with a good use of Sonic Wave and the combo of the Queen. So they need Beastmaster to get Necro sooner rather than later, and he's actually pretty close to it now. He just needs the recipe. And Necro 1 did get buffed recently, so that'll be very, very effective against a lot of heroes. Tiny, Legion, Quap even.
Yeah. Looks like we're going to see a push down bottom. They already rotate the Earthshaker in. Arcane Boots, got the Voodoo Restoration, Aquila. It seems like they had some clear intentions to make an aggressive move on the bottom right portion of the map, but maybe it's just TPs for TP's sake to be ready for action. Either way, I got to commend Adma for his play here. Just being able to find these quick picks and these kill combos right in the nick of time, just doing the math, running the numbers, and being able to find these opportunities where you can just burst somebody down before they can react. This is what's going to give the Queen of Pain her momentum, and she's right now leading her team's KDA 2-1 and 3. And as long as they can look to address the Gyrocopter threat pretty soon, I think they're pretty happy about how this laning phase has progressed.
They're all software engineers, Liz. Of course they can run the numbers.
Of course.
What are you so surprised that they can run the numbers? Of course they can run the dang numbers. No, I agree. Quap's had a good game of it, and he should be able to get his Orchid pretty quickly. Standard item build-up. Orchid's very good on Quap. Gives her a little bit of that. If she wants to transition into clicking later, she can do that. If she wants to just blow people up with Sonic Wave, she can do that. Yeah, I think Microsoft definitely probably still look happier at this phase of the game than I think. Oh, Tiny's in trouble though. Nice roar. You gotta relocate right now. You gotta head to relocate early.
And that's a little too late, unfortunately. The cast delay of 2.5 ends up killing off the Tiny, and now the Wisp is forced to return. The creep wave is coming in at pretty much the perfect time, though, to try to get the tether out. And we'll see what he can do. They will try to go for it. No, the Echo Slam locks him down, and now Figleaf is caught in the action as well, and will be nuked down. Oh, an unfortunate. A one-man pickoff turns into 3 when you add in the Legion and the relocate. So very unfortunate exchange there for Microsoft. And they're just going to go ahead and push down the mid-tier 1 tower.
Yeah, just a little bit more experience showing, I feel like, for Google. And these teams did play once before this season. Google won. And I think this is a little bit this game where in lane, Microsoft actually looked very much like the equals of Google. But so far in these bigger engagements, Google has definitely just looked more polished. Microsoft has had, in both of the big engagements this game, they've had a tendency to double down on a bad situation. Not sort of realizing like when you can and can't counter or turn a fight. Like when you lose the Tiny and all they had to expend was Fissure and Roar, and they have a lane ward, so they can see that the gyro is coming in too. There's absolutely no way that a Wisp and a Legion are going to be able to turn it if they didn't already use Echo Slam or Call Down. Like there's no reason to bring the Legion over at all, because it's definitely just a free death. So. Yeah, they could have just bailed out the Tiny with an earlier relocate and then maybe lost only the Wisp, but instead they lose Wisp and Tiny and Legion, and that's definitely smarts.
Yeah, especially with the Blink Dagger being delayed so significantly in this Legion. I mean, the way that they're going to start fights is by going Blink Duel with the relocate, and they're just not going to be able to find those opportunities as quickly as we see Google with the Nova picking up the Blink Dagger here. Not very tanky right now, only has like the Tranquil Boot, Stout Shield, and his raw HP pool, but all in all, he's still going to be able to commit to the fights pretty well, and there's going to be certainly some follow-up, especially on this Gyrocopter, who's now got drums, treads, Dominator, Aquila, a lot of cost-effective items that are going to fill his inventory up, and he's going to be looking for a lot of good kind of hybrid damage follow-through. We're going to see a lot of magical and physical. We're going to see the Blink Stop connect and the combo come through on the Queen of Pain. I didn't realize that they have now a second Blink Dagger. Arara Raji going to be able to pick up the Blink on the Earthshaker, and he's looking very strong.
Middle were huge.
And meanwhile, Roar's going to come out here on the Tiny. Going to be losing a lot of mana to the Necronomicon, but still getting a 4v1 with the duel. And that is going to be a very nice pick-me-up against the Beastmaster.
Yeah, they did expend a smoke for that. Very weird smoke. They started with just the Lion and the Legion over here, trying to, I think, like barrel right down and get the Gyro, which is very questionable when you don't have Blink on Legion. They ended up running all the way through the jungle and up here. And yeah, they got the Beastmaster at the end of it, but you expended a ton of time, during which time you lost the top. So Google, I think at this point they're feeling a lot better, because they've managed to open up the lead, get multiple blinks on their Blink Dagger heroes, and I think they find Tiny again.
Yeah, exactly. The Avalanche was actually kind of lucky stunning up the Centaur, but there's just too many heroes in position to bring him down, and in the end he will fall for 40+ seconds, so he's taken off the map for a while. This is time he's not farming his Aghanim that he's ever so close to. That's very, very sad to see Atani just on the cusp of his Ags, about to enhance his farm twofold with the cleave effect, about to start pushing towers, having so much potential, but it has yet to be realized, so it's going to be a little bit longer for him. In the meantime, they'll make their move here, but a nice ward placed out by that Witch Doctor might actually reveal some of these heroes' position, and this siege will be a little bit safer for Google.
Very dirty word, that potential. You never want to be tilted too much towards the potential side instead of the self-actualization, so to speak. Yeah, the Tiny 3 deaths at this point is very, very, very hindersome. And you can see he actually uses his TP to go top, but he's going to show. So now Google have a very good idea that there's actually no way for the Tiny to join the fight. And, like, yeah, Wisp can relocate and bring him back, but it'll take ages. So this is essentially a giveaway of a tower when you see the Tiny like this. Yeah, you can see Microsoft pinging it out. I think they actually saw... Okay, so the Wisp is top. They can now relocate them in. But Microsoft... Google...
Oh, big double stun coming down bottom lane. Double edge Echo Slam absolutely annihilating them, and Figleaf will fall too. The relocate only sets up a potential for 2 more kills to come out here. The Roar might be in range. No, just the Wild Axes will bring it down, but what a setup from Nova. That Observer Ward giving them that extra bit of vision, making the strike perfect with that hoof stomp, and man, what a beautiful fight coming out from Google here, now leading 16-9, jumping up in net worth, taking down the tower, and even pushing further with the Hawk Vision, allowing them to make this the safe play.
Yeah, again, just better decision making from Google. The right vision at the right time. We're sieging this tier 1 tower. Let's get vision on this spot. Microsoft did not have vision or counter vision on that spot, and then they had this idea that the Tiny and IO were going to reinforce the fight by relocating in. But if you're not initiating the fight, then relocate is never going to happen fast enough. Not against a team that has 2 blink AoE stuns in the form of Echo Slam and Hoof Stomp. There's just no way. There's no way that they can come back fast enough unless you start the fight. And it's impossible to start the fight when you have worse vision and you're 3v5 on the defense.
Yeah, and we're actually going to see some Ancient stolen here by NWA, picking up a nice double stack here. Big opportunity claimed for themselves, and that's practically the Gyrocopter's BKB right there. It's money taken away from Microsoft, and it is going to be in the hands now of the #1 position Gyrocopter, who, as his description implied, is going to be clawing his way up to the top of the net worth chart now. After on the back of these fights and a few stacked camps, he's now about to breach 10K net worth here at the 22-minute mark.
Surely picking up some additional attitude if he didn't already have plenty from his name. Yeah, I think taking the Ancient stack really smart. When you're dire with a Tiny or like any cleave carry, you really want to be able to. Usually, you don't care that much about this tower, but
actually, they might find NWA though a huge kill if they can obtain it right before he gets the BKB. They nuke him down. There's the dual toss. And that is going to be a very big pickup. They could consider Roshan right now. Not the easiest pickup.
I don't think so.
I mean, press the attack on Tiny is really good in terms of just physical DPS, but all the same, it's not the safest play.
Earthshaker Witch, like, that could go so badly.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the risky play. If they felt like they were really losing and they needed desperation, then yeah, I could see it. But you're against Beastmaster, Witch Doctor, Earthshaker, you're guaranteed to have inferior vision, and you're against tons of really effective ultimates in that tight space. It'd be very risky. I think they just...
Oh, Echo Slam, initiation onto Tiny. IO without the relocate is just going to try to keep him up with the heals here, overcharge and the urn, and by breaking the cask... bounce over to Morse, he actually is getting out for the moment, but there's going to be a roar, there's going to be a blink stun to guarantee the kill, and Aurora RG just keeps on going forward, stunning out Fig Leaf. Now the big Sonic Wave coming out, but the Voodoo Restoration keeps everybody up just enough for them to walk away here. They take the Tiny, they bring a lot low. Looks like the Malediction will be insufficient, but the Scream going in will allow them to bring down the Witch Doctor at the cost of Adma's life. Nova and NWA turning it back around. And it looks like that'll be that. No team wanting to go further beyond enemy lines, and that was a pretty hot and heavy engagement with a 2-for-1 favoring Google.
Yeah, Tiny, the Morris is not playing safe. You gotta farming up on the high ground here against an Echo Slam cooldown that's up again. I just don't know. It's so dangerous when you're up against these multiple blink daggers, and I think this is basically how Google have been playing this entire season. They just rely on people to just be not safe and not have the proper vision coverage or protection coverage for their heroes, and they just blink on top of them and kill them over and over again. And that's exactly the plan they followed here, and it keeps working. Tiny keeps falling for it.
I will admit that blink pickoffs are a lot easier at the potentially like non-professional brackets. It's just easy to overestimate your potential, and specifically with the Wisp. Like with Wisp behind you as Tiny, you feel like a god. You have all this mitigation, you have all this healing coming in. If you combine press the attack with a bottle, a magic stick, and Urn of Shadows, like you feel like you have so much healing coming in. But it's just unfortunately that positioning error does cost him very dearly.
The other thing is that Wisp is leveled. Well, I'm not gonna say wrong, but I think he could have more points in overcharge instead of tether. These days, people don't really level tether. It's not. I think it's actually a little underrated. Like some people literally don't level it until 23, which I think is not great. But you definitely can't. I think you need overcharge max first, because imagine if he had 20% reduction instead of 10% in that fight. Wouldn't he definitely live? Like I think he definitely lives.
It's a lot closer, that's for sure. And I would definitely agree with you now with the most recent patch making it so that movement speed also scales with Tether. Prior to that patch, I could actually value the stats build decently, but...
Yeah, it's cool too. I'm not saying it's garbage or anything. But I don't think you level it over overcharge. I just don't think you can.
Exactly. So he'll be able to pick up all those skills once he reaches a little bit higher level, but we're already seeing momentum for Google here. They're going to look to drive it in. Already have the Pipe of Insight up on the Centaur, which not only mitigates and blocks the damage received by his own double edge, but also makes it much more difficult for the Lion burst down a potential kill target. And obviously there's a bunch of damage coming out. Avalanche Toss, the Overwhelming Odds, Scream of Pain. It's not like it's always going to be at its maximum usefulness against this team, but it's still a very nice pickup.
Yeah, I think both teams are not like it's still anybody's game to some extent. Google definitely has a quite commanding lead, and they're very happy with their gyrocopter's positioning in the game. But Microsoft, they still have this tiny factor. It's sort of a wild card. If he's still on 4 deaths in 15-20 minutes, I think they'll be very happy. If he continues racking up deaths and the Legion continues not really having that much of an impact, then Microsoft will have definitely a difficult time winning.
Yep, but now look at this ward coming out from the Radiant. Accompanied with their Hawkfish, and they have a nice little high ground cliff ward on the bottom lane, seeing everybody kind of making their rotations here. That's been here for a few minutes now. It was since their last siege, but like this kind of vision is what's allowed them to kind of move across the map just more efficiently. Gyrocopter gets a ton of farm, and then they know where they want to go to make their play happen. They know right down mid they're going to find some heroes, and they're going to find some blood. So we'll see their approach. Are they going to go up to the secret shop here with the smoke to see? They've got the blink, they've got the force, and now they have some vision, knowing that there are some heroes in sight. But who do they go on? Oh, looking at the IO, looking at the Tiny. They're going to fish her back. Not sure about that one, but still going to get the Stampede and knock down Adma. Call down, now wasted. BKB not doing enough, but with Relocate out, it looks like... Oh, it's canceled! They canceled the relocate, they bring down the Morse, and now they just clean up the rest. Down goes the Legion Commander, down goes the Wisp. It's actually a 5-man wipe all at once here. The AoE stun factor is just so immense coming in from the Google lineup, and it not only prevents the relocate, but it makes it so easy for them to pick them apart with an initiation like that.
Superior vision, superior rotation. That's been the story of the last 15 minutes, and that's how Google won this game. Microsoft, definitely a mistake to not deward this word. This definitely was a huge problem for them. They absolutely knew or should have known that Google was going to place this ward because you know that they warded here and pushed up here, and you know that they took this tower. The most common thing people do if they take this tower early is place this ward because it gives you a ton of vision. It lets you completely control the game if you get an early tier 2 bottom. So I think Microsoft, in not dewarding that, made it so likely that something like that was going to happen that it was almost inevitable that a fight like that happened. I'm surprised that it ended up being 5-0, but it was always going to be in Google's favor. And the Hawk plus the better wards, I don't know if Microsoft has dewarded a single Google ward this game. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, when you're so far behind, your supports are underfarmed, your Wisp really wants to pick up something like a Mechanism, and it's just so far away. We're going to maybe see a clash here, but Figleaf already getting isolated from his team. This is going to be really difficult to pull back from, and we're going to see just a Roar locking him down. You can't obviously press the attack yourself, and he's going to be going down here. Now they pick up the Lion easily. This BKB Gyrocopter running a train over his opponents, and the Queen of Pain is the only one to walk away from this. The Tiny wasn't even involved at all. The Morris just running as soon as the fight begins practically, and now we see 3 kills and the Aegis going the way of Google.
Yeah, I would say Microsoft needs to think about vision and fight selection are the 2 main things, right? Because the vision is what's killed Tiny all these times, and in general has set up poor fights for them like here and here. And the fight selection was that, and the engagement with the Legion and no finger Lion that turned into a 4-for-1 against the Gyro early on. Every fight that Microsoft has taken, including trying to steal Roche, was like, you're taking a very low percentage fight when you're actually not that behind. Now, yeah, I mean, that last one, they are really behind. I understand Legion's desire to do a hero play, but in general, you can't try to take low percentage fights unless you feel like you really, really need to. You gotta try to find the highest percentage fight you can.
So we're gonna see them pop the fight pretty early here to try to take the high ground, but they still have the BKB coming out on the Gyrocopter here. Echo Slam just onto the one. Legion Commander, and Tiny now finds an opening on the flank, doing some good clear damage, but he gets roared. Causing the malediction. Flaming Panda is not relocating him out, and he's just gonna die. Tiny needs to buy back into this. There's a winner on the Witch Doctor, plus 14 damage for him. And we're going to see Flaming Panda now trying to rejoin his Tiny, but being picked off. Tiny's now pretty much all by himself. The Lion heading for the Fountain, and the Morris heading for the Grave. This is his dieback. This is going to be the game. A triple kill and a dual win for Gale Frost. Feeling really good about the conclusion of that fight there. 30 minutes in, it's the GG. Google taking game 1 of this best-of-3 series.
Yep. I mean, you can't say that they hid their strat. They have said since the beginning of the season, we're going to buy blinks, we're going to blink on people, or we're going to kill them, and that's exactly what they did. Really, really fantastic play, I feel like, from their Earthshaker player, Araragi. I can't remember ever seeing him in the wrong place. He ends up 5-1 and 20, which is an absolutely fantastic scoreline. He was part of every kill, more kills than anybody else on his team. He was just absolutely on point. Echo Slam, really early Arcane Boots and Blink Dagger for an Earthshaker, given he wasn't really farming that much. I just think his decision making was on point, his vision game was on point, and his initiation. Usually when you have a Centaur, the Centaur is initiating, but he led the Centaur basically by the hand into some of these fights to win them.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the After Hours Gaming League. We're going into Game 2 of a best-of-3 series between Microsoft and Google are already looking really strong. They're up 1-0 in this best-of-3, and they are already showing what amazing presence they can hold in this metagame. Just going in very fast-paced, farming themselves up Blink Daggers, and just going to town on their opposition. So it's going to be very fun to see what they pull out in this match. Obviously, we're going to be seeing a little bit more reactive banding from Microsoft. They're going to try to slow the tempo of Google, and we'll see if they can still kind of try to run a train all over them. But thanks once again for tuning in here to the After Hours Gaming League. I myself am Blaze, and I'd like to welcome back to the broadcast my good friend Vykromond. How's it going, man?
It's going great, Blaze. Had a fun Game 1. I'm hoping for an exciting Game 2, just like that one was. Google made a little bit of a switch. Apparently this is very typical of them in extended series, is that they'll play Nova, who's their offlaner in the last game in one game, have him pick Centaur, which is his favorite hero, and then swap him for Follow Me Around in the second and third games. So it looks like that's exactly what they did here. They've swapped Follow Me Around, and I think that means we probably will not see a Centaur. Instead, we already have a Bristleback and a Shadow Demon coming out for them. Wind Ranger, second pick, and a Lion for Microsoft.
Yeah, very interesting to see the Wind Ranger come out here. It's kind of just seems to be something that they're really comfortable with, trying to make the big plays happen. Obviously, connecting with Shackle Shots would be a huge boon for them, but already picking it into the Shadow Demon and the Bristleback. Bristleback very frequently going to have his back turned at the very least when the Shackle Shot connects, and then Shadow Demon with the defensive disruption can negate a very large percentage of that spell. Wind Ranger probably going to have to go mid as well here, because in my opinion, Shadow Demon is such a good support for zoning out and killing off a Wind Ranger in the offlane.
I don't think you even run that hero in the offlane, really. I think she's mostly mid, or even she's underused in this position, but you can actually make some use of her as a safe lane farmer as well. The most successful Wind Ranger compositions we see usually revolve around some sort of AoE setup and or armor reduction. So I know Alliance used to run Wind Ranger, Darkseer, Slardar as their three cores, and then the idea was the Darkseer clumps them up, the Slardar stuns them and amplifies them, and the Wind Ranger mops up after that. So that's a combo they could go for, and that'll kill a Bristleback. I mean, he will, as long as they have enough burst damage to handle him, they can definitely do that. One other thing interesting about Microsoft is they have three respect bans from Game 1 in this Game 2 ban phase, whereas Google was banning the exact same things they banned in the first game. So Google bans Storm, Ember, Undying. Those were their first three bans last game. Microsoft switches it up to ban the Gyro first phase, which they didn't do last game. The Beastmaster first phase, they didn't do last game. Those were the first two picks of Google. And then the second phase, they banned the Earthshaker. I mean, I think they're all justifiable. Maybe they could get away by not banning Beastmaster, but Gyro, very common first phase ban. Earthshaker obviously did a tremendous amount of work Game 1.
Now, it's interesting to note that Microsoft would be kind of their mentality might be shaken a little bit as far as their early loss here in the series. Obviously, losing Game 1 is a pretty big setback because you are on match point for the rest. And oh wow, we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, the fact is, you're generally speaking, it's going to be harder to take a win when you realize that it just is that much more important. Some people put their game faces on, some people go on tilt. But it's interesting to note that Microsoft in their last match, in the semifinals up against Facebook, were actually able to turn it back around, go for that reverse all kill. They lost the first game and still brought it back 2 consecutive games. So maybe playing under pressure is going to be better for them. But they're certainly going to be under pressure against this kind of a pick. Drow Ranger, Wind Ranger, a great physical damage output combo, but they're going to have some really good focus fire to bring this Meepo down.
Absolutely. Interesting fact is that actually both teams have a person who plays a lot of Meepo. They both have a Meepo, dedicated Meepo player.
Nice.
Adma is the Meepo player for Microsoft, and Ominous Hedge is the Meepo player for Google. So I was definitely expecting a Meepo at some point in this series. It's not surprising that Google will go up one and then pick Meepo. Not the sort of hero you pick when 0-0 and you don't know how you're going to do.
Sure.
But definitely a hero that you can pick at 1-0 up and be like, well, we can probably blow him out and just have this guy take over the game. Meepo, definitely, he's a hero with an interesting history. I actually think this hero was one of the strongest in like 6.81. He took a huge hit when they introduced very aggressive XP comebacks because Meepo wins because he's level 25 when your hero is level 12.
Yeah.
But hey, they nerfed those back down, and now this is definitely a viable hero again, I think.
But at the same time, they did take away that death time reduction that the Divided We Stand ultimate does give to Meepo, so it's got to be about surviving here. He's got to make sure that although there is a significant vulnerability with the fact that one Meepo dies, they all die, if you play it well by relying on your Shadow Demon disruptions, relying on your Dazzle Shallow Graves, you have a lot of potential to still kind of stand and fight with your entire roster there. And a really cool thing about Meepo, early Blink Dagger against the Trial Ranger is going to allow him to really shut down that marksmanship passive, make it so that they don't give so much attack damage to all the members of Microsoft here. And Wind Ranger really relies on that because her Focus Fire is all about attacking fast, and with the Precision Aura you hit that much harder. So Meepo jumping Drow is going to be the general template for how they make the fights work, but with a Silencer on top, it's going to be very difficult to follow through. You've got to worry about the Gust, you've got to worry about that Global, and if you're trying to focus down a hero like Wind Ranger, she can Wind Run at the same time, making her essentially immune to spells, because obviously you're silenced, and then, of course, immune to auto attacks with that 100% evasion. So, not going to be the easiest hero to bring down, but we'll see how much farm that Silencer gets and how early that ultimate comes online.
Yeah, I actually don't love the Silencer. I think they needed Axe. I think they really, really, really needed Axe. I would have absolutely picked Axe, because with an Axe, it's sometimes when you pick this Drow, you feel almost pigeonholed into picking 5 ranged heroes to take full advantage of Precision Aura, but I don't know. I think when you're up against Meepo, Shadow Demon, Dazzle, Axe is like a game-winning hero for sure. And he can respond to the Meepo jumping on the Drow by jumping on the Meepos that jump on the Drow. I think that's actually more valuable than Silencer. I don't know. Silencer sometimes a trap pick. I feel you feel like, wow, the global silence is going to ruin this game, and then it's such a long cooldown that if you don't get huge use out of it every single time, you're going to have trouble. And he also does no damage. You really want a lot of burst damage against Meepo, and if you think about the fact that, like you said, Blaze, the Drow Ranger is probably going to get shut down by the Meepo, you're now completely relying on Windrunner to answer Meepo. Maybe they'll get something like a Bat. I think Bat is maybe the best pick remaining to them, but I feel like Axe would have been really game winning. And because Google banned Axe, as you do, that also means that Microsoft couldn't do anything except ban the Brood, because they would probably lose to Brood if they didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of problems here. The Silencer in general is just not good against those kinds of heroes. But yeah, I think the Axe, obviously, the fact that he can call multiple Meepos and get that many more counter Helix procs, the fact that he can control the position and direction facing of the Bristleback, and the fact that he can dunk through Grave, like, that's just a trifecta of power coming in from this hero pick. But not having it makes them kind of at a loss for how to initiate their fights.
Yeah, I honestly don't really get how you don't pick Axe. It's going to be... The other thing is, Silencer is not great. If they wanted to run an aggro try or something and really punish some of these picks, they can't even really do that because Silencer is just not great in a try-v-try situation. And Shadow Demon, Dazzle... Obviously, we just saw them fail spectacularly in TF5 qualifiers, but this is a lineup that can really punish you early on, which is when Silencer is at his weakest. So they can literally run at Silencer and disrupt and heal him, and maybe like 2 shots of Sniper. What's Silencer going to do other than die? I think almost nothing.
It's going to be really hard to find the position to try to actually get the advantage. Obviously, with Hex and Shackleshot, there's still some potential to lock down that Sniper, focus him down quick when the silence is in effect. And I don't think many of these heroes are going to be going BKB very early on to counter out that Silencer, and that's going to be kind of nice for the Lion, the Wind Ranger to also get their disables off. But what it comes down to is I just feel like there's so much potential aggression. In the laning stage from the Dazzle Shadow Demon, Disruption into Shadow Wave is a great offensive combo. And then later on, Meepo with a Blink, you Shadow Wave him. If you have it maxed out, that's still a lot of Meepos poofing and getting the Shadow Wave on top, a physical and magical nuke that's going to cause some real issues. I like the pickup from Figleaf here, kind of along the same vein of the Legion Commander, but not as risky as far as trying to approach those fights. You connect with the hook shot, you follow up with the Global Silence, you get your heroes into position, and you try to make things happen. It can counter out the sniper, and it can give Meepo some real trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they're on Dire side. Dire side Clockwork's one of the safest offlaners in the game. Unlike the Legion, you're not really taking a gamble on the other team not punishing you. I think the Clockwork, once they saw the sniper pick, I don't know what they could have done with the Clockwork. Bat was still fine, but no longer as good when there's this tri-threat coming from the Meepo Bristleback Sniper. So I think the Clockwork was the best pick they could do under the circumstances, but I'm pretty scared for Microsoft just on this lineup. They really have to outplay Google substantially to win, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot riding on this Wind Ranger especially.
Most definitely. We're going to see how the Morris plays it, but for now we're going to be going into the game here and checking out the starting items here. We're going to be seeing the Dazzle play a bit of a 5 position here. He's going to be going for a lot of the consumables. We'll see a little bit of smoke and restoratives coming out from the Shadow Demon as well. He goes for the Sentry Wards too, so they're going to be able to kind of control that safe lane really nicely. The Dazzle, obviously he's going to be the one kind of babysitting while the Shadow Demon roams. If they find a roaming duo opportunity with the smoke, great, but you still need your Dazzle behind your core hero to guarantee his farm. Another big aspect is they're going to be stacking a lot early if they know how to play around this Meepo and enhance his ability to get himself farmed. So while NWA just stays on the lane, then Meepo is going to be jungling quite a bit.
Definitely, and one of the advantages of this selection that they have is that the Shadow Demon is the best stacking support in the game. He doesn't... No chance of accidentally killing creeps like you have with Coddle. There's no point in him being greedy, and he can stack multiple camps every single minute. At least 2, and if you cut trees really well, sometimes even 3.
Yeah, the 3 stack is really difficult, and sometimes it's just based on a little bit of the creep AI. But if you can manage it, it's the most efficiency you can muster.
But 2 is not that hard. I think we can definitely expect him to be stacking 2 consistently, and I think this is great. I think the Shadow Demon will be essentially sacrificial on farm. This is a hero that needs basically no farm whatsoever to be effective, especially in a game like this. There's nobody that he needs 3 charges of Purge to handle. And Dazzle slots perfectly into a 4 roll. The hero needs levels. The hero returns very, very well on farm and levels because he has amazing stat growth and scales well with items like Medallion. I think this is a really solid, well-balanced lineup from Google. I like almost everything about it. And the question will be to see how Microsoft handles it and whether the Morris can be very dominant in mid lane, which is possible.
Yeah, I mean, definitely has the potential here with the win run. He can man up a little bit. He didn't get the bounty rune advantage here. Ominous Hedge picks up the bounty for obvious reasons. That's going to be your faster level 2, your faster second Meepo. But it's actually the Lion to pick up the bounty rune up top. So while the Morris gets a nice block, the Lion is going to be the one they prioritize in getting earlier boots and maybe making an earlier rotation. So that's going to be a pretty important aspect. If they can take advantage of the early levels on Lion, great. That's going to be maybe your first blood and give your team overall some good momentum. But if not, the Wind Ranger is really going to be hurting.
Yeah, I don't think that was a good call. I would have used one of the supports to block, and given the bounty of the Windrunner. I don't see how you can start a half level behind Meepo. This is very scary to me.
Well, we'll see right now. A little bit of pressure put out up top. The offlane Bristleback, a pretty good pickup up against the Silencer pressure, I would say. I mean, the Lion, obviously, when he comes in, there's going to be problems. But as it is, the Silencer can't really do too much to him, just with the Blades.
Bristle's got a extremely free lane to get XP, I feel. How do they kill him? Once he gets level 2 or something?
I would almost say like it might be better to... Oh, they're still getting some good pokes in here. Glaives and Frost Arrows. At least they don't take creep aggro, being both orb effects. But yeah, I would almost say that maybe the Lion could be babysitting while the Silencer pulls and maybe get a little bit more value that way in terms of pressure. But
he's being really aggressive.
Yeah, last word on to the Bristleback, dropping him low. He'll pop the Sav, 52 HP regen, thanks to that Mango as well as the Sav, and he'll be back up to nearly full HP here.
Yes, the Mango contributes 1, the Salve contributes 50, but they're more or less equally important.
We're going to see a Haste Rune race. It's going to be now a really good spot for Agent 00 Fuzzy to try to pin in on this Bristleback. Doesn't want to go for an extended engagement against him, though, and is actually looking to help out Figleaf, who's been taking a lot of harassment from the Dazzle. Early level of Poison Touch here, putting some good damage in. I almost kind of feel, though, they could put a little bit more pressure on the Bristleback if they were able to kind of pincer him in. The Silencer goes from the western side of the river, and the Haste Rune follows against him.
They could have eaten through a little more regen, I guess, but they're just going to loop around now. I think this is fine. Actually, is he killable? He might actually be killable if Lion gets here really fast.
Yeah, they've got 2 levels in Frost Arrows. They've got the good stun. They've got the silence. The Bristleback will be turned to mitigate some damage, but in the end, it's still going to be the first blood against him. The fact that he doesn't have this ward up here is allowing them to find these flanks, and Bristleback ends up going down first. Meepo also forced out of lane here by the Wind Ranger, so a lot of good things going the way of Microsoft to start.
Yeah, definitely, and they didn't get their block ward dewarded because these 2 wards didn't catch it. Obviously, it's a lot easier to block this camp on Radiant than it is to block this camp on Dire. So yeah, better vision is already paying off for Microsoft here. Figleaf, I think, could be doing a little more to do the cog block, like the pushing creeps into the side to make sure the lane comes back. I think he could maybe have another half level, but overall, I think Microsoft pretty solid showing so far.
Oh, nice shackle onto the mid. Meepo will be able to sustain through most of this damage, but with the power shot that Blaze, the last word, does drop him very low. If not for that 35% magical damage resistance, he would be down to like barely into the double digits. He would be down to towards 10 HP or less, but he actually just walks away perfectly fine. Heals up with 1 Meepo, looks to stack with another. A lot of good stacks coming in from this Meepo. What we saw from the IO Wisp in the last game from Microsoft is now kind of being reflected here by Google's jungle play as they stack up multiple camps, especially here in the Central Hard.
We've got a 3 here, a 3 here, and 3 here. That's fantastic. This is Meepo's. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of last hits now, but he's level 5. He's going to catch up really, really quickly in the jungle, which is... Sniper doesn't really need that jungle farm.
Up top, a couple more right clicks could be enough. The Frost Arrows, and there's the Curse of Sign along with the last word, but he'll salve through it. And although it will break the salve and take out his regen, he will actually survive, and that's very important against a silencer. When you're a Bristleback, you have low intelligence here, very low base intelligence, and him stealing 2 per kill would just absolutely devastate your potential to stack your quills.
I actually think that silencer should have... He was in range to get another auto. He should have autoed and died. Actually, the Morris will probably die mid right now.
Oh yeah, it looks like it. He's got the win run, but not for much longer, and they are able to poof him down. So great combo there. Disruption, poison, and that Shadow Wave we've been talking about, setting up that kill, and that creates space for the sniper too. Like the Clockwork,
yes, it does.
Nowhere to be found, not even close to level 6, and the Wind Ranger not a threat on the board right now. So
Sniper was a good pick because it's really hard for Clockwork to win lane even 1v1 against Sniper. Just the range becomes such a big factor with some levels. Sniper with a fascinating build of maxing headshot. Maybe this is the new build, who knows, nobody plays Sniper anymore. But it's certainly really effective against Clockwork, this build in particular.
Top lane gonna get the disruption here. Nice steal of the aura temporarily will help them kill off this drought even quicker. 1 more hit will bring Adma down, and that is gonna be a very important kill actually, because we talked about the Drow's survivability and how important it is that she's able to avoid the Meepo strikes. So the fact that she's now kind of set away from her farm, doesn't even have her boots of speed yet, it does really just show that Google are going to have a lot of momentum going into the mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one thought. I did think that when they were diving that Bristleback, they could have dove even farther, and yeah, they'd lose Flaming Panda, but the Bristle isn't going to get any XP because he's already dead, and it would be, like you said, another 2 intelligence off him. So I think Microsoft would be in better shape if they had intentionally sacrificed the Silencer to trade for the Bristle kill. But even with that, the Shadow Demon Dazzler are doing their job. They're just roaming around. That's exactly what you need with this pair, because otherwise it's a very poor support pair unless they get early kills. Because the power of the Disruption and Shadow Wave combo tails off very quickly. Yeah. So it's very important to try to get kills while you can. And here they're going to go for another one, but it's kind of... I mean, he is Invis Ruined, but I believe that he was seen when he walked in for that.
Either way, I don't think there's a great opportunity there. The Wind Run is a good enough spell to get out of a tough position like that, unless you get like a full Warcraft 3 surround. You go for a complete body block, sure, that's going to lock the Wind Ranger in a bad spot, but as it stands right now, I don't think the Disruption opening is going to give them that kill opportunity, and obviously Gale Frost didn't either. So they're going to just bide their time, go for another stack here, and I definitely agree with you as far as what you're saying in the offensive potential of the Dazzle Shadow Demon, but the great thing about this support duo is that they're still present throughout the entire game thanks to their defensive potential. I mean, getting the defensive disruption in a situation where somebody's shackled or caught in a hookshot cogs, getting the Shallow Grave out at longer and longer range, like, these heroes will always be of high impact when the Meepo's life is at stake.
Yeah, they're very good defensive, but their damage, they have 0 damage after a very early point in the game. And sometimes you generally want at least one of your supports to do some damage when you have these slow damaging heroes like Bristleback. But no, I think it's fine. The comp really is about protecting the Meepo and having the sniper win lane too, which is they're all clear so far.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to see Sniper here on the bottom lane be pressured a little bit. 3v1. We'll look for TPs here. Shadow Demon has 1 TP. Dazzle another. So even if they get the full convergence here, if Sniper can just dive into the tree line just a little bit, he can buy time for those rotations to come in. But there is going to be Hookshot coming out in just a couple of creeps for the Clockwork. He's trying to just get his phase boots from the backside. And
they're just a little too early. That you gotta wait for a clock to be 6. There's no way this happens without clock being 6.
And now the headshots are going to come through. Maybe they can bait the Sniper a little bit further forward. Good flank coming out. They're going to be able to get the Hex off for sure, but Clockwork is still level 5. And actually, he gets juked. There is no Hex coming through. Just totally the last outplayed. Word. That is a very unfortunate rotation. And now Figleaf is caught in a really weird spot. Assassinate will come through, and they will follow that up with just a Shadow Poison. Will be enough to bring him down. Wow. Nice. A long-range snipe from both NWA and Gale Frost.
Yeah, Microsoft got totally outplayed there. I think Lion actually had the Earth Spike if he just was more confident in himself. He wanted to hero click, and if he had not hero clicked and just predictive clicked like here, I think he gets the sniper and then they actually get the kill. Instead, the Clockwork gets just totally worked over. That's the kind of death that just makes you feel bad, because you're just like, damn, I got completely served.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're going to be seeing that Sniper just continue to build himself up here. Do you think he still goes for the Mask of Madness, considering all the nerfs received and the amount of pressure he could be put under by Blink Daggers and Hookshots?
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, when's the Lion Blink is not going to be very fast.
Yeah, true.
Windranger, yeah, maybe she gets Blink and that could be a problem, but honestly, if Windranger's expending all of her, like, the Blink Shackle ultimate on Sniper, they're kind of okay with that, because it means she's not doing it on Meepo. Yeah. And they have these defensive tools, like you said, the hyper-defensive support pair. Like, the Mask is really covered by the fact that you have Disruption, you have Shallow Grave, you have Heal.
Yep, we're going to see another very low HP Lion, but it's going to be the healing staff coming through to help him out. And yeah, I think that I completely agree. If the support duo was different and much more offensive than defensive, then Mask of Madness would probably be a poor option considering the draft he's up against. But with these two, he has absolutely nothing to worry about. Might as well just go for the full DPS build, and I think that's going to be allowing them to get a lot of damage out in subsequent fights.
If it was like Rubik Lina, it would be one thing, but like you said, it's freaking Shadow Demon Dazzle. That's all they do at this point, 10 minutes into the game, is save people from dying.
Yeah. And I like this Dazzle skill build, just going ahead and maxing out the Shadow Wave here. A lot of potential for it to do some work, not only with the Shadow Demon, but with the Meepo. And I heard a hook shot, didn't actually catch where it went, but obviously it did not connect.
Level 1 hookshot has a pretty short range, and he shot from here to try to hit a Dazzle that was here, which is actually just out of range.
Sure. So, that's unfortunate, obviously, for Figleaf. Not exactly how he wanted to start controlling the tempo of the game, but I'm sure they'll get a couple more opportunities, especially when, like, Flaming Panda, for example, hits level 6. Drow's already 8, so not too hungry for experience. Flaming Panda can just leech the experience share from this top lane, and he'll be approaching that global silence, which will be allowing the Clockwork to make more secure initiations.
Yeah, they need levels on these supports. They really haven't been stacking, which makes sense because they don't really have a stack. Well, they have Windrunner, who's not a bad stack clearer. Yeah. But they really haven't been able to generate space for these supports to get levels, which is unfortunate because both Silencer and Lion are actually quite level-dependent supports. And they're struggling to maintain level parity with supports on the other team that are actually less level-dependent than they are.
Meepo clearing out a few more stacks here, like just completely dominating his jungle, and the end result, you look at his inventory, he's already got power treads and is only 450 gold away from the Aghanim Scepter. At that point, he's that much harder to kill, and he's putting out that much more damage. It's actually really scary when this Axe comes through. It's not going to be the really aggressive build with the Blink Dagger, but I'm sure that's what he picks up next.
Yeah. It's really scary, huh, Blaze? Would you say that it's ominous?
Yeah, I definitely could. Oh, but is it a hedge? I feel like they might be gardening hedges, burrowing down in the mines. But
it's a hedge against the rest of the team feeding, which they aren't doing, so they don't even need the hedge. They just need the ominousness. I really like that Google is also finding time to stack the Ancients, because this is a great catch-up mechanic for Bristleback. Not that even that Bristleback is doing poorly, but even if he was, he would be able to catch up on Ancients.
Yeah. Didn't take note, though, of 2 Tier 1 towers going down very recently. Tier 1 top and Tier 1 mid taken down by these high damage dealing ranged heroes, and that does give Microsoft a nice little boost in terms of net worth. They actually take away half the advantage that Google had, and although they're not farming as efficiently, they're taking objectives, and now they're going to look for the Meepo play. Going in here, the smoke will be breaking on the Drow. They know somebody's here, and they're going to find the Meepo. So, going for the shackle shot, perfect here, and they have enough nuke damage to bring him down. He still gets the Ags, though. If they had killed him before he actually picked up the Aghanim Scepter, that would have been a huge kill, but instead, it's actually nice because obviously he's level 11, they get that experience, but it's not as juicy as they wanted it to be. Still, Sniper gonna get caught by the shackle shot here. Pop with the Mask of Madness. Oh, actually, it's just on cooldown. But Big Leaf still gonna be in the cogs, fighting it out with the little Keen. And it is gonna be the Keen to go down. The shallow grave. Oh, the disruption will keep him up, and the last word will not take effect. So he will be graved. He will survive. And Drow Ranger, on the other hand, is getting slowed down, is getting finished off. It's actually going to be them turning around, despite that amazing shackle shot initiation. Flaming Panda, Magic Wand won't save him as the last hit comes through. Follow is able to chase him down and to find himself a nice bit of kill momentum to bring him up to the Vanguard, even before he takes the Ancients, and that'll actually make it easier for him.
Absolutely. Great coordination from the supports of Google to save that Sniper. A lot of ways that he dies there and not a lot of ways that he lives, and they managed to put together the disruption into Shallow Grave combo that you were talking about earlier, Blaze, and he gets out scot-free, and Microsoft, they just stay in even after the Sniper kill leaves, and that's what gets you cleaned up by a Bristleback, unfortunately.
I just want to say they need like an Urn of Shadows to try to secure those long-term kills, because like it's 7.5 seconds of buying time with the disruption in the grave, but he was still sitting on 1 HP with the Shadow Wave on cooldown, so it would be really nice to at least see that to try to maybe secure something at
it's a fantastic
long
point.
range.
That's a really, really great point. But it would have to be Fig Leaf making that. I can't see the supports ever having enough money to have that anytime soon. He could have that instead of Bracer, for instance.
Still, I mean, he's got another inventory slot as well.
He is surrounded. He is actually walking into sure death.
Oh, gonna be going in on the Dazzle. Maybe he finds something for his trouble in the meantime, but there's the disruption. Soon to be the Shallow Grave. Nice gust timing, but still the Dazzle walks away, and some animation canceling RSRS on this Clockwork, but in the end he does get struck by that Soul-Catchered Assassinate and will limp himself back to base.
Yep. Clockwork. I mean, he didn't die. That's something. He could have died, absolutely. He was beset by 5 people, but between him and the Drow, they managed to generate enough pressure and a potential Dazzle kill that the Google had to back off. So that's overall good, because he could have died, but it certainly doesn't get them any sort of advantage. And it looks like the Ancient stack was fully cleared by the Bristleback. He now has Vanguard, level 9, halfway through level 9, and of course, the Enchanted Mango still there, too.
Oh, nice little pickup here on the bottom lane, though, with the help of that Precision Aura, giving 35 bonus, and the fact that Wind Ranger's level 11, the Morse actually finds a snipe on the Sniper. So,
it's critical.
Really, really nice jump. Obviously, the Shackle Shot being instrumental in finding that opening, and the fact that she did it solo just profits her all the more.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. They need the wind. Actually, I would say the entire game rides on whether the Windrunner is able to take over, and he has to start taking over pretty damn soon. So it's good that he got that kill. Yeah. He's probably gonna go Slasher, so he's gonna go the Ags first. I think Blink first would probably be better this game, but
I like it with the Drow though. The Drow obviously gives you a lot of damage, so if you're taking 0% mitigation at level 16, it just makes it that much more powerful of a damage combo. But
that's very true.
Yeah, I could see it both ways. Obviously, positioning is very important, but I think the Ags is really strong with Drow in particular, and he practically has it, so it's not like the Blink's going to be too long later.
No, that's a good point. Ags will certainly give him greater uptime for his, like, he has the 10-second cooldown rather than 60 seconds, so, sorry, 15-second cooldown. He'll be able to do it. If he can get 2 productive focus fires per fight, then those are fights that they can win, certainly.
Sure. And I mean, you kind of have to, with the defensive disruption shifting your target so much. I mean, of course, you can go back to the same target and still get that focus fire buff, but it is a lot of disruption and a lot of smoke and mirrors coming out from Google. We will see this hookshot connect onto the Sniper. Good follow through with the global silence. He cannot be graved. He cannot be saved. He will be going down. And now they're going to go full offensive. They have the focus fire for the tier 1 tower bottom, and even with the Blink Dagger, I don't know if they hold that.
No, that was exactly what they want the silencer for, is the ability to respond to the response of Google by silencing their supports. Now, it's only 1 kill for global, but it's probably a tower, and it's a very important tower. They need to start trying to get control of the Radiant jungle in order to take it away from Meepo. But actually, Google have the right response here. Just trade towers. You're not going to win the fight, just trade towers.
Yeah, and Meeple's obviously pretty good at pushing at this stage of the game here. In fact, might be able to punish some TPs coming in. Wind Ranger cancels, and Drow Ranger is going to last second cancel her channel effect. Still, there's 2 on the side here. They can't go in without more reinforcements. They go for the finger, though, and that will do the trick. So Dazzle will be picked up just by the support duo alone, and that is actually not too shabby, considering they were playing from behind at that point in the game.
That was really good. I was actually very worried that Microsoft were going to repeat the mistakes of the last game and actually TP that Drow with Runager and have them both die immediately with no global. But the very smart cancels. I wouldn't have started the TPs, but I'm glad they canceled them. And then really good pickoff on the Dazzle. I'm sure he didn't expect to die there.
Yeah, they're
going to go Rosh because they have the medallion on Silencer.
Yeah, and of course the Wind Ranger Focus Fire. You just shackle to break the linkage, and then boom goes the right click. We do see him dropping down very, very quickly here. Giant Fishky flopping around, but about to go down. And who picks up the Aegis here? I mean, obviously the Drow's pretty important, but Wind Ranger can just do so much on the offensive. So she's going to be a little bit more aggressive now that she has that life insurance.
It has to be the Wind Ranger, I think. I can see an argument for Drow, but I think Wind Ranger is just so important. The other thing is Wind Ranger's actually going for solo kills. So if he goes for a solo and a Dazzle comes or something and the fight ends up going the other way, they can still TP people in and turn it around.
Yeah, it would be really good if she had the Blink Dagger, because then she can actually blink out of the unfortunate death, and with the quick respawn, get out of that bad spot, Wind Run away, no problem. But we'll see if he's able to pick it up within that 5-minute duration.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the hedge grows ever more ominous. He's farming. He has 171 last hits. That's a pretty beastly amount of farm. Obviously picked up a lot of jungle stacks. What's he making? I assume Blink, right? Yeah, he has Blink.
Yeah, he has
1,800 gold on top of it.
So Scotty's probably next.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good to me.
The Aghanim Scepter sharing 100% of the attributes. You just want to stack them up. Lots of HP, lots of damage, and of course a little bit more lockdown than just what the basic Geostrike provides. So
I mean, AC wouldn't be bad either, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think stats is important. I usually see Hard or Scotty, and I think the Scotty is preferable in this instance. But
yeah, it's definitely Scotty over Hard, I think, for sure.
Sometimes you also see Hex too. Scythe of Ice is not too shabby, but it really depends on how pressured he feels by this global. The fact that you can use items actively during global, you want to kind of exploit that. Oh, nice connection of disabled on the Dazzle, already down, and we're actually seeing some really good openings from Microsoft. They're finding opportunities here, and although they will be stacking a ward on top of a ward, as the Dazzle just placed that one in the central jungle, it's still going to be them to, generally speaking, get the jump in this kind of region, in the central jungle.
Their vision is just much better this game. They have a much better idea of where the enemy is and how they can move around to counterbalance them. But what they don't realize is that they're standing on a ward, so actually the Morris could be in some trouble here. The Crimson Guard from the Bristle could actually have a huge factor too.
Oh yeah, Morris. Yeah, they're going to see some more poofs come out. The Demonic Purge will come through. Assassinate with the Soul Catcher. No Soul Catcher required, I guess, because they're saving it for the second life. Actually, very smart, very wisely done. And without a Blink Dagger, the Morris is going to be taking a lot of damage here. Nice reserve of spells until that second life, but with the speed of the Wind Run, he's actually almost escaped. The Viscous Nasal Goo will not connect the second time, and it looks like he's actually home free. Wow. Run like the wind, indeed.
That too. I think he would have been even safer if Clock. I guess, I mean, actually, I shouldn't question the decision, because he lived even without Clockwork. I thought he would definitely need a sacrificial hook shot, but he didn't. So great. That's actually fantastic from Microsoft.
Very, very nice there. Running like the wind and surviving. I overall liked the way that Google were trying to stagger their abilities, but in the end they just couldn't get the full block off there, and of course the Phase Boots Wind Run, you really can't fully limit that, and it pretty much just comes down to the Earthbinds at that point. If you get the Earthbind after the Aegis, time it well, then you're fine, but otherwise you're able to escape, and now find yourself a Blink Dagger. The Morris is going to have that mobility initiation, can jump in quick and go for the Shackle, and of course, if she's ever in that situation again, we'll have an easier escape.
Yep. getting the blink in a timely fashion after the X is very critical, and he does it. So actually a lot of critical items for both teams picked up. The Drow gets Manta first. I think that's very justifiable against this situation where you're likely to get Earthbinded.
Now Shackle going in. Oh, big damage coming out. They're going to silence it so they can't Shallow Grave, and the Ominous Hedge will be going down. What a pickup. Unveiling that Blink Dagger, and now with the hook shot, guaranteeing the kill on the Dazzle as well. It's a 2-0. Mega kill, double kill for the Morris. And that is exactly how you want to play that situation. Perfect prediction of the Shallow Grave coming in. Flaming Panda stops it right before it comes out.
They need Bristle to be there if they're doing stuff like that. They need Bristle to be near the Meepo so that he can put Crimson Guard. Because the reason this Bristle rushed Crimson is to counteract the Wind Ranger attacking at max speed.
So how much is she actually doing? How much damage is she actually doing during the focus fire here? Because it reduces 15% of her current damage output here. Assuming the Drow has marksmanship up, she's hitting at about 177. So with that little bit of mitigation, armor doesn't come into play until the block takes effect, so you're able to take out about a third of that damage.
Yeah, that's huge, actually. That's a lot of damage block, right? So, but the fact is he's not there. He's not using the Crimson. He hasn't, I don't think he's activated it yet this game, and that's a free tower for Microsoft. This is great. They desperately, the only way they won this game was if Windrunner goes ham, and that's what he's doing with a big assist from Flaming Panda's well-timed global silences.
I think Roche control is going to be very important for the next respawn. We're going to see it here in 5 minutes, but Meepo is so good with an Aegis, and the fact that he's not able to rely on his Shallow Graves makes it very, very pertinent that he's able to pick up that second life. But if the Wind Ranger gets it again, she's going to be that much more effective, and they'll find that many more opportunities. So it's going to be very interesting how that Roche pick clash comes out, and if the Clockwork and Silencer can kind of redefine the battlefield with Global and Cogs. Morris in a weird spot here, but he has the Blink, the Wind Run, and he will be fine. We haven't actually heard from the Silencer in a while, actually. So what do you think about NWA's progression here?
Sniper, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, actually, hang on. Figleaf is for sure dead. I think it should just throw out a Cogs just for SNG. Alright, he's dead. I think Sniper, it's fine. Nothing too fancy here, just the drum for stats, Mask of Madness phase. Really, I don't know. He hasn't done much of anything since the laning phase, but they only picked him for laning. The Morris is in trouble. This is huge.
Man, this is going to be a really big pick-off. The Earthspike is not good enough to get him out of here, and he is going to be down for a full minute unless he chooses to buy back, and I don't really see an opening here, so I think that they're just going to, unfortunately, sack the Tier 2, sack map controllers. We're probably going to see some wards. Oh, no Observer wards here on the support, so just going to be the tower itself, which all by itself is really good. Interesting movement from the Dire, though. We're going to see Agent 00 Fuzzy and Flaming Panda make their rotation to the jungle, and they do see NWA.
Yeah, they'll definitely kill him, but it's like, how important is the Sniper really? Like, yes, they will definitely get this kill. Which is great, but it's really, the game is really about Meepo versus Wind Ranger, and killing the Sniper doesn't actually affect that either way. It's a great kill. They're not going to defend this tower, so it's important to try to get a counterbalance somewhere. I think it's smart that they didn't use Global for that. They absolutely could not use Global for that. But the main thing is keeping this Windrunner alive and keeping her getting kills.
Yep. So, as it is, it's going to be Tier 2 for the Sniper, and while most games that would be a pretty big deal, the Meepo is large and in charge, and moving quickly towards his next item. They will see him kind of in his farming routes here with this Dire Observer ward, but whether or not they can punish that when having just used Smoke is another story entirely. We see it's...
Okay, they finally spot this ward. That's very important. They had to do that, because the Meepo just had perfect knowledge, too, of where they were.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most defensive ward, right? Like, it has good ideas if they're ganking from the east, or it gives you kind of a second warning, but it's still not going to be like a bottom rune or a turtle ward that will kind of give you the full information.
I agree. It's funny that it happened again, by the way. These teams really like warding in the exact same spots.
Yeah, exactly. And pretty much at the exact same time. These things are like 4 seconds apart, but they're placed over the tree line, so neither will know.
It's really funny. Yeah, they're literally 4 seconds, like you said.
So... now we see the Drow Ranger. She's got her Manta style. Goes into the Shadow Blade here. Is there any value in the Silver Edge? Obviously, against the Bristleback, it's pretty strong in particular. Do you think she'll consider that option, or just kind of build more agility?
I think Silver Edge is not a bad call. It might not be that bad to tank up, and it is critical against the Bristleback. Eventually, they're going to have trouble actually killing this guy. And I mean, even the 40% damage reduction against Sniper is not bad. It also turns off Sniper as a hero if you land it on him. I like that item. I think it's a little slightly underbuilt. Yeah, it doesn't give her the stats she wants necessarily, but the actual proc is very strong.
So we'll see. I mean, obviously the Wind Ranger's focus is just countering the Meepo right now. So the kind of mentality I'm looking at is, are they still too afraid of the Meepo? Or if so, build agility. If they're kind of feeling like they are starting to be able to lock down the Meepo and need to kind of shift their focus towards the team as a whole, I think the Silver Edge would be a very smart decision. But, I mean, look at that. Meepo, the Ominous Hedge, going for the Sheep. And that means that we're going to be seeing some kills coming out very quickly here. The Morris, for example, he doesn't see it coming. We're going to see a haste rune away. Oh, now they see it. And that is actually going to be a shackle against him. They're going to have to poof everything in, but even then I don't think he can save himself. Good hex, but there's the haste rune. He can just kite it away and wait for it. Ominous Hedge does get the blink away, but there's the Drow to meet him, and there is going to be a nice kill going her way. 500 gold. Now down bottom. Yeah, Figleaf taking some decent damage here. Negative armor, stacking up to about -8, but he is still going to be able to run away, and that two-man commitment up top doesn't cost them anything. So really nice
that was great
for Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely, killing the Meepo, very, very critical. I mean, the Silver Edge is like, it's 2,700. The other item you would be building is Butterfly, so it's about 4/5 of an Eagle Song. Is the proc worth 4/5 of an Eagle Song to you? I think the question becomes exactly what you said. How scared are we of the Meepo? How scared are we of the Bristle Sniper? If we think that the Bristle Sniper are about to take over, then we absolutely should get Silver Edge. If we think that it's all in on Meepo, then we should just go Butterfly.
Yep. Good balance, a good potential. I mean, obviously the Butterfly is not bad against Meepo either. The evasion's actually pretty nice, but of course that's the defensive aspect. And if you're planning your team fight around your Drow having a bunch of melee heroes in her melee range, then you're probably losing that fight anyways. We're actually going to see Invis play coming out from the Drow Ranger, and the Sentry Ward was so close. I think they caught a quick glimpse of her for just a second there, and they, just as a precaution, put down another Sentry Ward, but in the end won't be able to lay the trap.
I think maybe if the Clockwork was feeling good, they should have maybe tried to do something. I think the Drow could kill both supports very quickly if they were in cogs, because he could ghost cogs.
But without the vision that they've been having in that central jungle, they don't know what's behind them. They really could have just been jumping 2 heroes into 4, and that would have been a very big mistake.
I mean, you know there's no Meepo, and they did have other heroes around. Instead, they're going to go for the Rush Blow, which I almost think is more risky, but at least they'll be able to kill it really quickly.
Well, you know there's not the one Meepo, but any Meepo in range means the Meepos are there.
Oh, yeah,
they can always
he was just dead at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, how do you miss that? That's unfortunate. He misses the hook. That's but they did get the rush.
If you look at Dire Vision right now, they don't actually see up that cliff. They know that he's taken that ramp in general, but it's not like if you have the vision, then obviously that's a very unfortunate miss. But as it is, they still get Roche. They walk away. They're getting crit on Wind Ranger. And now it's all on the Morse just to keep landing these shots. At this point, how do you keep the Meepo safe? Do you start putting Lincoln Sphere on him? Do you always farm with a buddy, the Shadow Demon or Dazzle, in the Fog of War so that the Global Silence doesn't come out? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that trick will probably only work once. But yeah, I think Lincoln's or something is going to have to happen. Or even Lotus.
Oh, Gus coming out onto the Ominous Hedge here, and with the Figleaf running in close, they're going to be able to bring him down again. So many deaths for this Meepo, and the fact that the Divided We Stand does not bring him back more swiftly is actually making it very difficult for him to stay in farming patterns against him. Like, he had a net worth advantage tremendously in this game. Obviously, he's topping out the level chart as well, but these back-to-back deaths are feeding so much the way of Microsoft.
He's flatlining for sure. He could be level 22 by now or something. He could have more farm. I think this is great play by Microsoft. They knew that Meepo was a possibility, and they're playing against it properly. But this is scary.
Yeah, Gale Frost going to be picked off, only committing that hook shot. But now we're going to be seeing them kind of regroup here and consider their options against this tower. It is worth noting that the Bristleback has picked up a Halberd, so not only providing himself evasion, but getting a very valuable disarm against his Wind Ranger. The Wind Ranger doesn't really want to go BKB this game. If you think about what heroes she's up against, Dazzle, Shadow Demon, Meepo, Sniper, like, there's nothing to BKB. But the Halberd is going to be a thorn in her side for a lot of the team fights.
I mean, if she needs to do it against the Halberd, she probably will. There is a few other
Adma
options.
In a really weird spot. Oh, getting caught out. They Halberd at long range shrapnel and long range headshots, putting him in a tough spot. But Adma at just below half HP will be walking away. Will eat a big chunk of damage here, but it's not going to be enough to bring her down. It'll just scare them off of the tier 2 in mid. But of course, Wind Ranger took that out all too quickly.
Bit of an awkward engagement, but they still get the tower. They don't lose anybody. I think overall Microsoft will be happy with that. The Drow resolved our little debate earlier. He did go Silver Edge, probably Butterfly next.
Yeah, and he already used it on the Bristleback to kind of poke, but it's all about timing with that item.
Yeah,
It's got to be when you find that focus opportunity. It's probably best when the Lion catches somebody with a Blink Hex. As soon as you get the Hex, you immediately poke them with the Silver Edge, and that Bristleback actually looks like just a squashed bug. Like, he has no way to mitigate. He actually only has 11 armor, honestly. The Vanguard, or sorry, Crimson Guard block is really nice, but end of the day, if you don't have that Bristleback mitigation, it just doesn't feel like a tanky hero.
He, by the way, is hexed, but I think he... Well, we'll see. Actually, Lion misses the opportunity to hit him.
They got a pretty much the easiest hookshot in their life, so here's that Silver Edge coming into play. Now look how quickly he drops. Doesn't matter which way he's facing, he'll be nuked down. Nice halberd on Adma, but Clockwork actually takes a nice little kill for himself, so not only Blade Mail, but
from
Axum.
the Morris.
Bottom tower
He's a chaser boy. He might actually get the Shadow Demon.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, in this position, Blink
He's
Dagger is available. Gale Frost does not go for a long-range Shadow Poison to keep it on cooldown, and now the Morris is in. Defensive Disruption. There's actually a Hex too, but Gale Frost is definitely dead.
I wasn't sure if the Meepo was going to try to be a hero and save his Shadow Demon, which is not the play. Not the play.
Yeah, it would take quite a commitment. Now we're actually going to see Figleaf approaching an Agadams very quickly. If he can start upping the precision value on those hookshots just a little bit, this Ags could be huge, because this exact engagement that we just watched could be so different if he had the shorter cooldown hookshot. He could follow through on 2 or 3 more kills and just bring it home very easily, especially on a hero like Meepo. You want to catch that guy out, you hookshot in, pop the Blade Mail, pop the Battery Assault, and he can't poof away. And right now, there's only one Force Staff on the field, so it's unlikely he'll be able to escape.
Yep, I think Ags is fantastic. It's fantastic. I think it's actually very good that they gave that kill over to him on the Bristleback at top, because it pushed him back much closer to Ags. I think Ags is a critical item for Clockwork in this game for them to keep pressing their advantage. DD,
oh my! How fast do you die? 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4, dead. Dazzle hits the floor.
He should have done 3.
Yeah, well, Silver Edge can only crit so hard, man. But all the same, without the Dazzle there, look pretty confident going to this high ground. There's not really much AoE defense, just the Shrapnel here, and poking at long range, but they go in hard on the Morris. Nice Force Staff out. Assassinate still brings him low, and he does not have an Aegis. They have taken down Wind Ranger, and they are going to rout them now. We're going to see Ominous Hedge, maybe look for the Blink follow-through onto Adma. Yes, he gets it. And although Adma's glimmering away, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Figleaf in the cogs, disrupting things a lot. And he's going to hookshot to Adma. They're actually all getting out. Oh, the TP is away. I can't believe they disengaged so cleanly after the Wind Ranger fell so quick.
Yeah, that's very, very good escape by Microsoft. Much smarter. Just much smarter play than we saw from them game 1, where they would double down on some of these lost fights. It is a shame, though. The Wind Ranger was playing as if he still had Aegis when it actually had, disappeared like 20 seconds before.
That was the vibe that I got. It seemed like he thought he still had that second life, because he was right up in there and knowing exactly what they could throw at him. So, quite unfortunate. The Force Staff was still a really quick play coming out from Flaming Panda, so I got to commend that one, but just not enough to change the tide of war.
I think Wind Ranger, maybe he finishes crit, but at some point soon he's going to need Lincolns. I think actually Lincolns would be... Yeah, I don't... Because what killed him that time? Well, it was just Blink Scythe from the Meepo, right? And that's about the only leading spell they can use on him other than Disruption, which you would also want to Lincolns. Yeah, and I was thinking about like the possibility of maybe something like Lotus Orb, because hexing the Hexer sounds awesome, but it's only one Meepo, and the other 4 can still blink in. Right. So. The good thing about Orb would be that you can use it to clear rather than preemptively. Like, another person can make Orb and use it on the Wind Ranger to remove it, but who's really going to get the money for that? Exactly. So that's going to be a significant problem going in later. I mean, right now they've got some good items. Solar Crest and Glimmer Cape are actually pretty huge. We saw the Glimmer Cape work wonders on Adma and his escape, and this Solar Crest could be even bigger. The 30% evasion, you put that on Wind Ranger after her wind runs down, and you are just high and dry. You are making a clean getaway. There's no way to mute it anymore, and there's no way the Meepo can really True Strike against it. So it's also amazing on a target that Wind Ranger has shackled, like a Meepo. You just put the Solar Crest on them, they're gonna melt. I mean, everybody's gonna melt from as long as the Windrunner has good uptime. And okay, he's going BKB. That's fine too.
Yeah, I mean the halberd is such a thorn in his side that, and the Scythe of Vice is also something he wants to be really immune to. So I think in the end this is going to be a good play here. It's going to allow him to pretty much do one of my favorite combos, which is pop Black King Bar and Wind Run at the same time, and they can just do nothing to you. They can Demonic Purge you, and that's about it. That is actually about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think BKB is perfectly justifiable as long as he knows when to use it preemptively to avoid just getting jumped in on and scythed. But otherwise, I still don't think Microsoft can really go high ground until they secure another Roshan for themselves.
Or just kill Meepo. I mean,
or just kill Meepo. That's true. If he's very incautious and dies without buyback, then absolutely. Looks like he's picked up an Eagle Song, so I think that's solid. Obviously, the stat share is a big deal.
Yeah, it could be Butterfly. Also, could be E-Blade. I think E-Blade is actually a pretty legit item on Meepo, considering the stats, considering the multifaceted utility of it. And you can save an ally from a Wind Ranger.
He just finished it.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, it's just a really nice pickup, and I think Ominous Hedge might actually be able to bring the game back if he can use this item correctly. But still, it's tough. I would have to say that the item pickups most recently from Microsoft actually outweigh the ones from Google.
I agree with you. I think it's just that Google has lost map control. They still have better vision, so that's one thing that I don't love for Microsoft this series, is they're not ever able to out-vision Google. Even though Google is losing positionally and strategically, they still have better vision, and generally when you're ahead strategically, you always want to secure tons and tons of vision. But otherwise, yeah, I think their items, Microsoft's items are great. I think the E-Blade is great too, but it's still really anyone's game. This is substantially closer than Game 1 was.
Yeah, well, vision's one thing, but if they go for a smoke by their secret shop and that is not detected, then they can make their move very aggressively here towards the bottom lane. If Meepo farms one more creep wave, it's going to be a real problem. But he does poof forward up top, or towards the mid, so we'll see how efficient he really wants to be. Already seeing
could be huge.
An opportunity here. Ominous Hedge all alone, and the Grave is not going to come out in time. They're just going to go ahead and nuke him down, and now they can just rout them. Coming in, BKB popped. Global Silence perfectly on the mark. Dazzle going to be going down so quickly. Can they stop the Bristleback TP, though? Getting the Earth Spike will bring him down, and that's 3 in the Grave permanently. No buyback. So if they go right now for the bottom lane, there is nothing to stop them from taking the full lane of Brax.
They should push. They should push. They don't know that Google doesn't have buyback, but this is when you have to check. You have to push as hard as you possibly can, try to force buybacks. They have good escape. They don't have global, so that...
Even better is the fact that Google don't have ways to hold them in the base. They don't have the clockwork. They actually are just only have shrapnel to stop a retreat, and we're going to go on the offensive here. Figleaf caught out. Nice defensive disruption, but it only delays it. It's still going to be NWA taking a lot of damage here. Halberd onto the Morris. NWA is still alive, but it will be his death in the end. And Bristleback, die back on the Bristleback. This is their time. This is where Microsoft bring it back. Low HP on the Morris. Has to be careful here. Dodging out the Shadow Poison is very important, but in the end, the Focus Fire all the more relevant here. He's going to get a fall back against the Fortification. Adma, oh, he gets the kill. The Grave does not come out in time from Araraji, and that is going to be them cleaning house. Still the Meepo
up in 10 seconds.
Yeah, 12 seconds and counting, but at least the tier 3 down. We'll see if they can actually go for this melee racks. They really want to. Meepo has the TP, has the Blink Dagger. They have to commit. It's a little bit harder to finish this Rax, and it's just poking and prodding without the Focus Fire. They'll leave the illusions, but they've got to run. Flaming Panda caught by the E-Blade. Adma outside the Sentry Ward's range. It will be the Silencer to go down, the melee Rax to survive, and that will be it.
They should have gone for range. That was... I think they could have had the range.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's okay. It's still an amazing fight for Microsoft. They get a buyback from 2 players. Shadow Demon not important, but Bristleback very important. They get a buyback. They get a ton of kills. They do not get Roshan, and actually with Global still down and Silencer down, maybe? No, not really. Radiant can't really go for it. So I think Microsoft, that was a very commanding fight. They did amazingly well, taking an advantage, and the smoke around was really good. Yeah, Radiant is gonna check Roche at least.
I think they could actually try for it. It's not the ideal stance to be
going for it
in, but Adma scouting it out with the Invis Rune. Figleaf looking for his opening. Ghost onto the cliff. One Meepo is completely exposed. Adma will go down very quickly though. You see this from Drow Ranger. She does not live long against the Meepo, but they only have to bring down one. They Finger of Death. They kill Ominous Hedge in the pit. The Morris on the front line will be right-clicking down on the Dazzle, and he will not connect with the Double Shackle, but even without the style points, he's still able to get the kills they need. Gale Frost down. almost 5 dead, or sorry, almost 4 dead with NWA on very low HP on the run home.
Oh man, DD Windrunner, that's a dead rush within moments.
Just a little bit.
Did they use global? No, they did not use global. That is them barreling down bottom lane and taking racks right after this, I believe.
I mean, the Morris could use some HP here. That I don't have Urn of Shadows, I don't believe.
He should have just taken cheese, eaten cheese. Okay, yeah, that's what Droud's doing.
Yeah. So, quite insane that the Drow actually lived through that, but the fact is there's no detection on the Radiant side right now, so the invisibility almost equals invulnerability in those kinds of situations.
Especially in the pit where you can't, to place any detection in it, you have to have your sentry like all the way up.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically put it now on that cliff up there or something, but...
Well, you'd have to put a support in the pit, which is filled with meepos.
A lot of meepos, but now we're seeing perhaps the last seconds of Google here in Game 2. They looked really strong in Game 1. They didn't look too bad in the first half of this game, but Microsoft really pulled it together when they got this Blink online for the Wind Ranger along with the Ags. They knew what they wanted to do with this draft, and so far have been executing near perfectly. So we're going to see them take the bottom lane. Now looking at the mid. It's a little greedy to go for this, even with the Aegis. I think they could kind of regroup and try this another time, but it looks like there's no time like the present. The Morris will be going for this Tier 3 tower, and there is going to be that Assassinate dropping down to 100 HP. The Morris will be able to slip away.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't use Aegis for that. That would have been a complete waste. They could have even glimmered a little.
Yeah,
earlier,
glimmered the Assassinate, but yeah, he's alive. That's the end of the...
That's
the important thing.
I mean, look at Drow. He's picked up so much gold in these last few engagements that Microsoft have convincingly won. All of a sudden, he has the BKB and a Chrysalis in the shop. He can actually get Daedalus pretty soon. Obviously, he wants to save for buyback, but other than that, the Drow is now a credible, and was in the last fight a credible alternate damage threat to the Windrunner. They've done so well that now at 44 minutes, they no longer actually solely rely on the Wind Ranger to do well. But I gotta say, so far, this game is just such a huge step up for the Morris from his tiny game. When I saw that they were placing him on this extremely important hero that they needed to do extremely well, I was a little worried because his tiny game was not very impressive, but he's been absolutely on point on this Wind Ranger. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now Daedalus is going to be finished on both the Wind Ranger and soon to be the Drow Ranger, and that's going to put them in a very aggressive position. I kind of feel like this is the time to build Butterfly on Drow. Obviously, the burst potential is really nice from the crit, but if you do get that Butterfly, you help everybody, right? Like, you help all 4 heroes do more damage. And
Sniper is so underfarmed. Like, it's not like Bristle or Sniper are going to get an MKB, right? So you become essentially invulnerable to everybody besides Meepo.
You got the Solar Crest, the Wind Run, and now adding on the Butterfly would just make it so difficult to manage you in a physical sense. But even still, the crit's obviously going to do just the work that they need it to. And
oh, yeah. You meant on Windrunner. I thought you meant on Drow. But
I was talking about Drow, yes.
Okay, yeah. Because he won't have the benefit of the Wind Run, but he will definitely have the benefit of all
I'm just talking as a whole. Like, this is just very frustrating for the fact that they don't carry any MKBs. And seems to be a significant drawback to Meepo in this patch in general.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, at this point, they're kind of suffering because the Sniper didn't do better. He did well early, but he hasn't really farmed. All he has is... I mean, that's the thing. Meepo is going to suck up all the farm on your side of the map, and your Sniper doesn't have room to get that MKB.
And the experience, too. I mean, look, level 24, Ominous Hedge, meanwhile, level 13 supports on the backside. I mean, that's not terrible for heroes like Dazzle and Shadow Demon, but they're still going to be lacking stats. They're going to be dropping very quickly. We do see the Tier 3 down. But you were talking about the difficulty of breaking the base. Do they have to land a hookshot to actually start the fight they want, or can they still try to poke at it with Manta and
well,
with
the
Tier
3 is very easy because you can low ground ult it. But to go up to racks, yeah, they probably need vision, and they don't really have they don't have the Dazzle, they don't have the Shadow Demon that gives them high ground vision, but they do have Rocket. The Clockroach just needs to spam Rocket, and if he sees anybody, he just immediately hooks on them, like right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they're not Glimmer Caping as quickly as they could be to try to stop this Assassinate damage. A little bit more communication would go a long way here, but still, Drow, or Wind Ranger living for a bit more. Needs a Glimmer Cape now. Oh my. Dropping very, very low. The Glimmer was just coming off cooldown, so they couldn't do it. And at this point, it looks like they're going to sack her second life. No Urn of Shadows heals. No, not even a mech, I don't think.
Oh, don't back. Come on. Come on.
It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I mean, dropping so low here, just poked at piece by piece. There's the Assassinate. It's going to kill off the Blink Dodge. Okay, that's another option as well. No Shadow Poison coming into play. But even still, you've got about, what, 30 seconds left in this Aegis anyways? Like, I feel like you stack it and you make the play.
I feel like you make the play, for sure. They just don't want to lose 2-0, right? They want to for sure win the game, but... Yeah, I feel like they could have played it. Because now it'll just end up being a regen rune, which is fine. I mean, it's fine, but...
So
they're just waiting on Clockwork, right? Like, it's not going to be Wind Rager who makes the call to go. It's really going to be the clock.
Fishing for a shackle obviously is a good opportunistic way to look at it, but because none of those connected, the answer is not going to be handed to them. They have to kind of search for it. They have to get the Rocket Flare, have to get the hook, but it's so hard when the Radiant have vision up on this cliff. They know about Fig Leaf's position. They're not going to get caught out easily, but the shackle shot does break, put the Bristleback on the defensive, and if they were able to Silver Edge that and get the global out at the same time, that would probably be game.
They're still getting creamed on vision. That's really how Google's staying in this game. Like, their vision is just so good. They have a just amazing concept of where the supports are standing, how Microsoft is planning to hookshot in, and they're positioning themselves because they can always see the Clockwork. I mean, they have 3 wards. They have entire coverage of their in danger high ground.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no avenue of attack that will catch them off guard here. And that's just going to be really strong for them to kind of hold this position and weather the storm. It's still not the easiest game to come back from, but stalling it out is definitely the answer for them. If they're going to be able to bring it back, they need to wait for a mistake to happen. They could take one more fight with initiative, but it's still not the easiest pick when you know that obviously this creep wave is pushing in mid, this creep wave is pushing in bottom. They know that you're smoking. It's just whether or not you still find that opportunity, and maybe at least on the Clockwork they'll find it, but not the ideal kill.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, but it's not a lot. I mean, Microsoft's vision is not exactly awful at this point either. They do have some of this defensive position towards. I think overall Microsoft definitely is still very favored. Google needs to stall until Sniper has MKB. That's,
exactly.
I don't even think Bristleback should take any farm. I think Sniper should take as much farm as possible. Like, Bristleback should not be farming the C lane as Sniper. This is like greedy. Sniper needs that MKB a lot more than Bristle needs BKB or whatever the heck he's making.
Yeah, it has to be, right? I mean,
No, he could go Toy Soldier Halberd stack, dude.
Easy. Maybe go back for the Sanjin Yasha, make a Silver Edge of his own.
For the double maim.
Easy.
They are separate maims. Sometimes you want double maim, but I don't think it's this game that you want the double
Fig
maim.
Leaf. Fig Leaf, he's got the hook shot. He'll just jump back to the creeps here. But, I don't know, he's playing it a little scary when you're up against Blink Hex. That's the one thing.
That's very true.
And suddenly you're surrounded by Meepos. There's no way to hook without connecting on one of them, and you're in a very sad way. But
surrounded by Meepos. Sounds like 6K MMR Dota.
Pretty much. Not the way you want to go. But all the same now, we've got a 8-second BKB on the Wind Ranger. She's got her Ags, her Blink, her Daedalus. At this point, the only thing I could think of to upgrade her kit would be a Scythe of her own.
Yeah, Scythe wouldn't be bad. I mean, there's definitely still avenues that she can take. I think the Scythe is definitely one of the best ones. Deza wouldn't be horrible, although it's not slot efficient for her.
No.
An MKB of her own wouldn't be the worst thing ever, but Scythe's probably the pound for pound the best thing she can go for.
I mean, you could look for that Diffusal Blade, break down the ethereal effect of that Meepo. You know, gotta metagame it. Just gotta look at that E-Blade and say, okay, that person's ghosted, no longer.
Right.
You can also dispel the Hex. I mean, there's utility. There's utility.
You're not wrong. That's pretty epic, but I doubt he'll do it, but I appreciate that's some good out-of-the-box thinking. I deserve that for saying that Bristleback was going to stack Albert.
That's true, that's fair. So, one thing you're talking about, the AC on the Meepo possibly, if the Bristleback gets more farm as the game goes on, then he can pick it up for himself after that BKB, and that would be huge. I think that's kind of when the fight turns, or the overall momentum of this game turns, is if Sniper farms the MKB, and Bristle not only completes what he looks for right now, which seems to be BKB, but also an AC. At that point in time, I think that Microsoft are actually more afraid of Google than the other way around.
I mean, Microsoft are 100% all in on doing physical damage, right? There is no way that they ever kill you from magic, really. Lion might pick off a support, maybe. So, armor is the answer to physical damage, and Google has heroes that can absolutely plausibly build AC, the Bristleback or the Meepo, Shivas, again, the Bristleback or the Meepo. Vlad's, probably not Meepo at this point, but probably Bristleback. They could have all three of those for a ton of physical damage reduction.
We're just getting Vlad's on the support. I mean, Shadow Demon, he's right now got 2,500 gold banked up.
Yeah,
And
he could get Vlad's right now, you're absolutely right.
his alternative is Ghost Scepter or an Aghanim Scepter. And, I mean, Ags is okay, but it's really only good against the Drow. Like, as far as breaking passives. And you're not able to really kite these heroes anyways, so yeah, overall I would say it's more ideal to go for the aura and help out the team.
Yeah, I think so. I think Aghanims is actually an amazing item on Shadow Demon, but this is not really the game where it has its greatest impact. It really ruins heroes like Slark, Lifestealer,
PA.
Sven, PA, these heroes that you can repeatedly break with it and just kite them indefinitely. But Drow, I mean, it's not bad against Drow. It's solid, but you don't need 3 charges. You just need to use 1 on the Drow, really.
Exactly. So overall, I'd say that right now he's probably looking to just save his buyback for a tough situation, and then if he does get a little bit more farm via Shadow Poison, then he will be looking at that Vladimir's offering. It does also lifesteal for the Sniper, so Mask of Menace on top of Vlad's, he does get some nice potential to stay in the fight longer.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I think Google, obviously their plan is just to stall, and hey, they do have everyone's favorite stall hero, the Cardell Sharpeye, the Dwarven Sniper, so it's not the easiest thing for Microsoft to end this, but they do have a commanding lead, and I think sooner or later, once they get another Roche, which is exactly what they're doing, they will go for that.
So we're going to see Phase Boots hit the ground, so too Roshan. Aegis will go to the Wind Ranger, and Cheese will, at least for now, be held by the Clockwork. So might transition over that to a needy, greedy carry, if necessary. But
he'll definitely hand it over, I think. You're totally right about that.
I mean, there's like a 5% chance that he might need it in a fight and would change everything, but like 95% of the time at least, you're going to be looking at just giving it to somebody who can get more value after, say, the Aegis expires. But
I totally agree with you.
We'll have to look at the buybacks now. It's actually going to be 4 versus 4. Only the Dazzle and the Lion are out of the picture, and only off by 500 or less gold. So we could be seeing that picked up pretty soon for a full, like, 20 versus 20. Add in the Aegis for an extra 1. I don't know.
Yeah. Keep in mind, the Drow has a Boots of Travel in the stash, so if he dies, he can buy back, swap the travels for the Town Portal Scrolls, and go right back in. So usually you have a huge defensive advantage when everybody has buyback, but in this case they do have both of their cores are able to buy back and get back into the fight with their travels. Actually, a Lion can too.
Yeah, I was looking at the hookshot potential. We see a shackle shot now connecting. Maybe Figleaf can find an opening here. Need to time the global well, but here are 2-man cogs. This is their best time to pop this global, and now they're going to be able to bring down Gale Frost. Very nicely done. Now going to be the buyback for him. Crimson Guard on the backside, so they can't really focus too many targets, but here we will see the Dazzle dropping low. The Meepo as well. First the Dazzle, and then Ominous Hedge will be right-click down, buying back instantly here. Adma will go down. Actually has no Aegis or Cheese, and he's not buying back yet. Morris
should buy back.
Gonna be going down, and it's actually gonna be them now on the defensive. The Blink Dagger maybe coming out. He will blink away and get the wind run at a distance. Shackle shot now on a Meepo. Focus fire. Have to defensively disrupt the Meepo. Well done by Gale Frost, but is it gonna be the end? We do see now the Morris and Flaming Panda in retreat. Soulcatcher Assassinate dropping Flaming. Oh, just killing him with that amplification. 50% more damage.
Very bad buyback from Drow. What the heck was the point of that
Now,
buyback?
the timing is bad. It's just, I mean, he has to jump to a tier 3 tower and run across the map, but if he gets a surprise attack on Gale Frost, that's at least a dieback on the Shadow Demon, but they want more out of that. That buyback cost the Drow Ranger 1,900 gold, and of course the gigantic 7-minute timer, so...
If he was going to buy back, he should have done it much earlier.
Exactly, like, the second that he hit the dirt, he probably should have bought back. But...
I think insta buyback actually wins the game for Drow there, for sure.
Okay.
Because it even helps your Windrunner, he just gets all that damage back. Instead, he gets a Shadow Demon kill for it. That's almost worthless.
Yeah,
but hey, I mean, they got the Shadow Demon to buy back. They got the Meepo to buy back, which is very important. I'm sure they expected more. Maybe Global was a little late, I feel like.
A little, but I mean, I feel like the fight still plays out pretty similarly, even if they time it with the hook shot. It's still close, maybe a second or two off on some kills, but overall, I think it's still kind of be this same bit of execution there. They forced 2 major buybacks, the Meepo being, of course, the really important one.
Yeah, but
and the one thing about Drell's gold is she's pretty much capped. Like, if she loses this buyback gold penalty, farms up 1,000 more gold, she is 6-slotted. She can go for Moonshard. She can go and buy gems and stuff for her team, but she doesn't really progress beyond this point.
I think Moonshard's a pretty big deal, actually. So she's got about 6k worth of gold that she can still spend really productively, and then 8k quasi-productively, because Travels 2 is not awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she is getting close-ish to capped, but she's still got about 5-6 minutes of growth.
Yeah, I mean, really, you can look at like the 8-slot Dota strat, just have like 6 E-blades in your pocket so that you can have the maximum aura value when Wind Ranger goes in, and then swap out those 6 inventory slots.
NS in the TI5 qualifiers Russian stream was like, well, technically you can buy as many couriers as you want, so there's really no item limit.
Exactly.
No, I do think that the one thing about forcing the Meepo buyback is because they use the Aegis and the cheese. They're not going to even try until they get another Roche. So who really cares that the Meepo bought back? You didn't win, which means that you're going to wait for another Roshan, which means that he will have buyback again.
And they didn't really break any structures in the process. I mean, 2-3 tower was down already. Bottom lane's been pushing in this whole time. In the end, the game stalls out, which generally favors Google right now. I mean, they still have good wards up. Where are the wards on the Dire? Out of stock. So they have to be in inventory, and it is going to be Flaming Panda who looks to place 2 more out.
No, they've been getting out visioned both games, all game. Their wards right now are okay, but not amazing. They could definitely need to place some more forward wards. The main thing they don't do is they don't really D-ward, because I feel like they don't usually spot where Google wards. They don't know where to put the D-wards, which is, I mean, fair play to Google. I think they've been amazing about vision control, but when you're ahead like this, you want to choke out the enemy vision entirely. You want to make them play Black Map Dota, because that's a very
Follow. What a position to be in at this stage in the game. He's going to be caught by the Shackle Shot, by the Silver Edge, goes down without a second thought. They had like 8 different ways to get that kill. And I think
you just snap buyback here as Bristle, I think.
Yeah, but you just
Flaming Panda. Meanwhile, speaking of cut out of position.
Yeah, that's going to really hurt. I mean, he's not going to be able to survive this because we've already seen what that Soul Catcher can do with the Assassinate, but they're still going to look to go in here. Buyback Global is possible here, and the Clockwork is connecting now onto Shadow Demon. Gale Frost does not have a buyback here, so big pickup. There's going to be the buyback on the Bristleback, but the Shadow Demon actually still alive. 1 hit, please. There we go. Will bring him down, and down for 63 seconds. Yes.
That could matter. That could matter for sure.
We're going to see Dazzle buyback into it. Now only the Sniper has buyback remaining, but the commitment is difficult with the Silencer down. Of course, they have the option of buyback global, but do you want to invest that for the high ground siege? I feel like you just fall back, say, okay, there are such and such amount of buybacks on cooldown for when we go for the Roche fight, and we can just outman them at that point in time.
I completely agree. I think getting those kills at that time and forcing those buybacks is a trillion times more important than the Meepo buyback, because the Meepo buyback is synchronized with the losing the Roche, so he's going to have it up by the next Roche. But the difference with these is the Bristle buyback and the Dazzle buyback will not be up by the next time Microsoft does their death push with their next Aegis and Cheese. So that's actually the Bristle kill in particular is huge, because if he dies, then he is done.
So we're going to see some micromanagement of the courier here. It looks like Bristleback wants to start working towards AC. Could be a couple other items, but Adma, it doesn't matter. He won't give him the chance. It is going to be the plate mail, but the plate mail will go down. So whether Shiva's or Assault Karas, or maybe even that Lotus Orb, it's not going to be realized for quite some time.
That is very unfortunate, because Bristle's like, well, at least I have this gold that I can spend now that I bought back, because I won't be able to buy back again, and he doesn't even get that. So now you just have this pretty low net worth Bristleback. He's barely ahead of the Lion. Like, look how much he struggled.
Wow, that is very, very unfortunate for him, and it's just been a few positioning errors here and there, and overall, like you said, the Meepo just kind of spreading across the map and sucking up all the gold like a sponge. He's doing pretty well. Sniper is obviously kicked back in, but it's just not enough right now, at least. And I'm really surprised that the Sniper went for Daedalus over MKB, by the way. The fact that he has that crit item, it kind of implies to me that he doesn't realize how great it is against that win run, but I don't know.
I think you need to be MKB for sure. I mean, he almost has the gold for MKB, frankly, but
he's the only one that didn't buy back, though, in this entire process, so he's the one who has to save, otherwise they're pretty much just fighting with those
It only costs 1,800 though, and he does have 5.2k, so he might actually be able to get MKB by the next fight. But while we're talking about slot limitations, Meepo 61 minutes is a freaking slot limited hero.
Oh my. Yeah.
Moonshard is useless on this hero. Travels 2 is actually pretty cool, but you know, you can't get rid of the Blink, really. You can't get rid of the Ags at all. Yeah, you can replace the power treads with like a heart, but
yeah, not without an alchemist. I think Meepo with an alchemist on his team might be able to push forward to that next level of slots.
Now that's next level.
Jeez, if you can make that work, I commend you. All the same.
If you can make having a Meepo and an alchemist on your team, and you somehow do not lose Dota, then you are a true god.
So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure farming both jungles has to be involved somewhere in that equation. But
I think so. Maybe you might want to try to establish a third jungle. Petition Ice Frog for a third jungle in the river or something.
Hey, if anybody's gonna fix that bug, it's gonna be the software engineers here. They're gonna pinpoint the exact way to make that happen.
You're not wrong. All right, well, Rosh in about a minute. That's probably the next flashpoint will probably be around taking. I don't think Google has any chance of contesting the Roshan, so it'll be the push that Microsoft does after the Roshan. And let's look at Roshan compared to buyback timings. Bristle has 3.5 minutes. Dazzle has 3.5 minutes. Rosh is up in 1. Microsoft has about a 1.5 minute window to push after the Rosh. That's normal, I think. I think they can win with that, but it's all about execution at this point.
Yep. And obviously punishing mistakes as well as refusing to make them. I think that if Bristleback makes another YOLO play to farm again, that could be like the game winner for Microsoft. So have to play it close and smooth. Obviously, Microsoft have a pretty significant aspect of map dominance. You see their wards now, and they're looking much better than they have been pretty much this entire series. So now I want to talk about Roshan and ask, is there any way that Google look to contest the pit, even if they do have a smoke?
No, I don't think there's any way. They would have to, because Microsoft has decent enough vision that they'll know that the lanes are so pushed that if Google aren't in their base, it'll be extremely obvious, and that means smoke. And they really have a good counter like smoke lineup. Like as long as the silencer is even awake, like they're gonna land global, and that's curtains for Google. I think Google have to stall and just accept the fact that they have to get a miracle fight.
Yeah, in theory, your Meepo could push out the lanes if you're sure that they're in the Roche pit, but because of they have no long-range vision tools, it's really difficult to make a call like that, and obviously you risk the Meepo just getting picked off if they're not in the pit. So now we're just going to see the Roche go down quickly, and despite his best efforts, he's going to get bashed over and over and over, and it's actually going to be clockwork with the Aegis now. They feel like there's just too much value in the inventory slots for the core heroes, and although the cheese obviously is still kind of up for grabs on the silencer, the Aegis is stuck on Figleaf, who also has
I like this. I like this waiting to pick up the DD rune until he's gonna DD and then travels immediately. Cool little play.
Yeah, bottling is the most efficient, but all the same, like this is a position where we're talking about 8 item slots. You don't want to have a 700 gold item be among them, but. We'll see Adma join the Morris here. A lot of damage on this hero. Oh my gosh. Hitting for 550 with the Drow Aura. And although he'll be poked at like before, if they can just... Oh, she doesn't have Aegis though. Like they can't actually use the damage.
The poke is much stronger when he doesn't have an Aegis to fall back on. He's got to be kind of careful, and they have to be more diligent about using Glimmer Cape than they have been to keep this Windrunner healthy.
It is worth noting Lion picked up like a 40-minute Urn of Shadows, so he is going to have 2 charges to put Morris's way and maybe get him a little bit more HP to work with. But as it is, at this point, you almost got to consider maybe pushing top lane as well, just trying to get all these lanes pushing in to find an opening. I mean, Rocket Flare at the very least up top would do a lot of work against these standard creeps.
Well, the thing is, their only high ground vision that they can generate, other than in the bottom lane, is Rocket Flare, so they can't really use Rocket Flare. I think I would use Drow to split push and then travels in if a fight breaks out.
Okay.
But I understand your point, absolutely. The fact that they can't split push, they could even use Power Shot. Okay, Morris has got high ground.
Yeah, for a second here, gonna force the glyph. This might be the last glyph of the game, so very important. And a blink dodge into the trees. He's gonna have to Power Shot his way out. And it actually, I'm not sure if that broke the... No, he's still stuck. He's still stuck with that diagonal angle, and yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. RxC, the disruption on the Drow illusions, but not really gonna be benefiting from it too much here. They're just gonna poke and poke, and that's about it.
if he disruption on Drow is pretty good, as long as you don't need the disruption for any defensive purposes. The fact is, those will provide the sniper with a little bit of extra punching power.
Yeah, we see the shackle, but Force Staff away, and now the Morris taking massive damage, huge crits coming out, but with the wind run and the lack of MKB, Sniper can't finish him off. Still, Morris will go down to the front line. They will actually force his buyback, perhaps. Adma caught out on the run. Now the Meepo pushes forward. He's gonna be going in onto Flaming Panda here, just focusing him down. Cheese eaten by Flaming Panda, and Adma doing the damage again. Amazing Earth Spike hitting all the Meepos, and they are able to nuke down one that is not Grave. Now Fig Leaf gonna be going down, but he has that Aegis to fall back on. So if we can just get the Wind Ranger here. Did her BOTs get canceled? Her BOTs got canceled! She has to run all the way to this fight while her the team fight is in shambles. Fig Leaf can't hook shot away. Nice little cog play, but in the end he goes down. And now Bristleback is going to be focused by the Morris. He turns his back, but with that Solar Crest, he's still dropping very, very quickly. But he gets back to his team, and this is actually disastrous for Microsoft. The fact that the Morris, his BOTs got canceled, actually cost them so much, and they still lose the Silencer on the tail end. Cheese or not, he will go down.
How did they get canceled? Did he just...
he must have TP'd to a creep that was dying. That's the only thing. He was TP'ing to a creep.
That's a huge error. He could have TP'd to the Clockwork.
Or TP'd to a hero that was dying. I mean, whatever it was, it died, and he didn't complete his channel.
Yikes! That is awful. Definitely, like you said, they used Global for that. Sniper did have the MKB just before that fight, which was absolutely crucial to bringing down the Windrunner through Windrun.
Exactly.
Windrunner lost his nerve a little bit and made a few critical errors. I don't see how they get away without buying back everybody. Yeah? Okay, I mean, they used the Drow, but not the Clockwork, alright. I mean, at least Clockwork has buy, I guess. Whoa, Drow! Okay.
And she's just trying to get the initiation. They're trying to set something up here, but BKB stand and deliver on the Sniper here. He's taking a lot of damage. The Morris beats him to the punch. The Shallow Grave isn't there. Just an incredible amount of burst damage coming out from the Morris here, but can they follow through for more? Without the hook shot, without the Clockwork, they just have to power through it. Dazzle going to be caught out in the corner here. Adma E-bladed up. Will not take much physical damage and just glimmer away. Dust comes out, but BKB as well. They're just going to focus here on Raji and will be able to bring him down. He has buyback, though. The Sniper buying back now. The Dazzle soon to bring it back, and this is turning into an incredible game of Dota 2. 68 minutes into this game, and I still am not sure who's going to take it.
End-to-end Dota at this point. 6 buybacks used in the last 3 minutes. Alright, Sniper doing work. He realized that he needed to take over the game sooner or later because Meepo was going to tail off, and Meepo, haven't heard a peep from that guy in a while, but the Sniper luckily is, oh no. Oh no. We've got to pause, boys.
Yeah, but I don't even think this is technical. I think this is just, you know, these guys have a lot going on in their lives. They sit down to play a nice game of Dota 2, and in 6.84 you look at it and you're like, okay, well, maybe it'll be a 35-minute game. No problem. The snowball is real, and these should be clean wins. But the end result here is a 69-minute game of Dota 2, and that's twice as long as a lot of these teams have bargained for. So maybe, you know, using the facilities, maybe they have something else to attend to briefly, but we'll be back in the action soon enough, and it gives us kind of a chance to take a step back and look at the game as a whole. Obviously, we saw some decent early game presence coming in from Google. They were able to rotate really well with the Shadow Demon Dazzle. They were able to find opportunities to kind of win out their lanes and really control their jungle, where the Meepo could explode and farm. Where did it go wrong? Where did Microsoft pick this back up, and where does that leave us now?
It was the Wind Ranger. They weren't able to, because they had Shadow Demon Dazzle, who are after 10 minutes fully defensive, and Wind Ranger only died one time during the Shadow Demon Dazzle can actually kill people phase. The Wind Ranger managed to turn around the game. Microsoft had pretty good vision early, and she was able to rotate around and really gain a lot of purchase in the game. And that's what they needed. And once the Wind Ranger has that big advantage, and she gets that blink Ags and can credibly threaten your Meepo, now your Meepo can't split push. Now your Meepo has to play a lot more defensively and suck up farms from the Bristleback and Sniper, and that's how you fall behind. And they were behind for a very long time, but how behind are they now, really? It feels like less and less.
I mean, it really comes down to buybacks at this point. We've seen so many expended very recently here, and the most recently has been the Sniper, actually. He got shredded by that Wind Ranger, although with this MKB he can do a lot to her. She can still do a lot the other way. And at this point, I feel like they have to kind of look to do everything they can to back up the Sniper, even if it means, like, buying extra items to try to keep themselves ready for the Shallow Grave. If they have to BKB just to get a Shallow Grave out, it's still going to be very worthwhile. I don't see the Silencer, well, I was going to say I don't see the Silencer approaching Refresher anytime soon, but he very well could pick up Refresher with the...
He doesn't have buyback, and he has 4.7k.
Yeah, so I mean, you might as well kind of look for that big game-changing item where you get the double silence and you have some real potential. I was also going to talk about another item other than just the BKB option. If you go Lotus Orb on the side of Google and you Lotus Orb the Sniper, the second he gets hit by Focus Fire, he gets that max attack speed, and he's able to turn it right back the other way. Like, this could be, like, game-winning if he gets the Focus Fire against the Wind Ranger.
It could. Who buys it, though?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, is it has to be like the Bristleback at this point.
Yeah, Bristle's the only one who's going to have the money to even do it. But hey, I mean, he has a plate mail. Honestly, maybe that's better than Shiva's and AC. I think it might be. Because both teams already have enough damage to blow each other up. The AC isn't really going to... It'll have some impact, but not like game-changing impact. Whereas, like you said, the Lotus Orb can actually just straight up win you the game. So, yeah, I actually am feeling that a lot. That and Refresher Dazzle.
Oh, boy.
This game goes another 40 minutes. He can get Refresher, double Shallow Grave, double Weave. I'll take that.
You know, man, I don't know what it is, but whenever I play ranked solo queue and I go Dazzle, the games always go like 55 plus minutes, and it's the most stressful thing in the world. There's Shallow Graves needs everywhere, and you can do such amazing work. Even when you're winning, it still feels so stressful. And sometimes, you know, you
suddenly you have one button instead of all these fancy buttons that you had earlier.
Exactly.
You either push it and win, or you don't push it and your team all reports you, and you end up in LPQ for 10 games.
Yeah, sounds about right. But it's just like, people sit down to play a nice, fun game of Dota 2, a little bit of relaxation from a stressful workday, and then you're stuck in a position where every grave counts for 70 minutes. I really feel for our Raji here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a very good point. He has a good heads-up play to not buy back. He's actually maybe the one person who has very good judgment of when to buy back and when not to buy back. I actually am very impressed with this player overall. I feel like he's probably of the 10 players in the past 2 games played the best overall. But the fact is, yeah, Dazzle's a one-button hero at this point. So his ability to impact the game is circumscribed by the fact that he's not allowed to have any farm, and he's has one button.
So at this point, I don't even know who would be better in this position, a Vengeful Spirit or a Dazzle. Because, I mean, the Dazzle's huge for saving with Graves, and obviously there's no axe to counter it or anything. But all the same, it just feels like they really are just worried about if they're anywhere near their opponent. Like, you can Grave, and that will stop somebody from dying for 5 seconds. Very, very important with these high DPS trades. Yeah, but I'd almost say the aura, the negative armor, and the swap positioning would actually be like the trump card here.
I think Grave's good because the fact is Grave does mean that the sniper can just stand and fight the Windrunner. Which there's like, yeah, you swap them back, but what if you swap them out of attack range? Now you don't have your attacker.
Sniper out of attack range. Good joke, kid. But 950 is still finite, and we'll see.
It's finite.
They'll put some pressure out on it, I'm sure.
If you get Silver Edge, then it's a lot less.
That's true. That's true. So, what I'm looking at here is a lot of hexes on the side of the Dire now. Just 2, but those 2 hexes could be game-changing. A Silencer even opts for it over Refresher. I'm not sure if I agree with that decision, but overall, they're still going to find a lot of value in the hex itself, if he can just get into the fight. The weird part about it is he wants to stay back to global. He doesn't want to be. He wants to be like 2 screens away to make sure the global is perfect and uninterrupted, and that nobody can jump him first.
That's why I think Refresher is the play. I agree with you.
It's like an Ancient Apparition hex. It's like
it's the disruption.
You can find value, but it's not always gonna connect the way you want it to, and it just comes down to the final play. If that hex wins them the game, then obviously it was the right call. But I think more often than not, the global silence ×2 is the better alternative.
I think what you could do is give Silencer Refresher and swap the Blink for a Scythe for these long sieges, because Blink isn't doing that much for Windrunner at this point. Like, it's nice, but it's only nice.
Yeah. I actually think that the Blink is probably a more of a liability than anything else. I mean, if she had Aegis, it's still huge, but it's been... I feel like the tempo was shifted back ever since she stopped picking up Aegis. Ever since she's like, I have too many item slots, don't give it to me.
I agree. I think you could ditch Blink for Aegis for Windrunner. I mean, what the heck is an Aegis on Clockwork doing for you? Like, almost nothing of use.
Yeah, I mean it's something. There it is.
There
it
we go.
is. That's I think a game-winning play right there. But we'll see how the next fight plays out. Still, the fact that she can just siege at all in this position is really good. They know that the glyph of fortification is down, so if they just go in on this melee Rax and focus it, you can kill that off certainly with your win range's first life, and that at least gives you really something to take away from that clash. Still, obviously they can't commit everything. They are getting 2 buybacks up in 1 minute, and that's when they feel like they can kind of make a reserved judgment call about how aggressive they want to be down middle lane.
Absolutely.
I don't think they can go, even with the Aegis, I don't think they go with this wave. That would be without the Drow buyback, and she has boots of travel. Like, you really need that in this position, but they're already right at the steps. Do you think that they're actually going to commit?
Well, it's very close on the both the buyback cooldown.
Just
He
one
just needs
creep
one wave and 2 jungle camps.
Oh, Global comes out, though, and they're going to go ahead and just take down this melee Rax, no fortification, and walk away with that. That is a very high-value play, and unfortunately the Meepo didn't find his opening to blink in there. I mean, with the Meepo in front and the Sniper in back, it seems like they have a good opportunity to try to at least punish that, but they seem really afraid of the fact that the second life exists here on Lirelai.
It's tough. I mean, you can just straight up lose. Alright, well, Rax down. See you all in 199.98 seconds, BBL.
Whew. So at this point, how much stronger are super creeps to the regular creeps? Like
Not much.
We're a third of the way to the max level of creeps.
Oh, what?
Adma? That is a huge mistake. They're gonna be able to bring the Drow down. And although, like we were talking about, she just got her buyback off cooldown. If they can force that, oh, what a win for Google.
What's he doing there? That's the one place where they are. Like, you know, all the places that they are into which, by process of elimination, means that they must be on top of you. That's definitely unfortunate. I mean, nerve spraying, certainly. 1 hour plus
I mean,
games.
it's 75 minutes. It's
elimination
fatigue
game,
for
no
sure.
less.
Yeah, a lot of stress on all 10 players, and yeah, this could be, I don't know, the clutch or the choke at this point. Like, this is a really tough position to fight from, and they've got to make every second count, I would say. I mean,
Well, Google will force the buy.
Yeah.
I would have even maybe considered snap buy, just because you know they're gonna force it. Like, what are they gonna do? Not force it? I don't know.
but if they do if you don't snap by, you put them in this position across the map where the Clockwork might be able to really make use of this Ag's hook shot.
I guess so. Maybe.
If he can follow through, if he can chase him down, this buyback could actually cost Google significant lives. And we'll see the buyback come through now, the Clockwork. He can't really go just yet. He is going to go to try to cancel a poof, but meanwhile we still have some heroes up top here. So they were waiting for the connect in order to go for the boots of travel back, but in the end they aren't able to force that. The hookshot's back off cooldown, but they don't see the TP, and they will just kind of all fall back here. The buyback down on the Drow Ranger.
Very smart play by Google, I think. They force the buyback. They get a tier 3. Yeah, it's not a Rax, but Rax are not the most important thing in this game. Buyback is the most important thing in this game.
Could go for a snipe play here. Nice observer ward, scouting out if the Meepo will go for the next wave or not. But in the end, he realizes the threat. He's not going to make the same mistakes of the past, and he is going to play it very clean. So we're just going to see that although they will be waiting for an opportunity, it doesn't look like that's going to come, and it's just going to be maybe another roast cycle gone, because, I mean, obviously we're looking at the Aegis timer, and they've only got another minute left, so at this point it's...
Looks like they're going to try to pressure it a little bit, but it is iffy. I mean, you don't have a Drow buyback. That is a big scale tipper, potentially. Sniper's ditching his Mask of Madness pretty soon. He's going to replace it with the Mjolnir. I think that's definitely the smart ultra-late game play.
Yeah, definitely. What about this Monkey King bar on the Wind Ranger? We're actually looking at 0 evasion other than the Solar Crest. Do you think the Solar... and the Heaven's Halberd, do you think that's enough to keep this MKB in inventory, or...?
It's very damage efficient. What would you replace it with, Scythe?
I mean, it would be the Hex, yeah, definitely.
I mean, Hex is going to go in the Blink slot, in my opinion. I think you want the MKB, otherwise you don't quite do as much damage as you want, and the Auto Bash is quite nice.
When does the Rapier come into play, man?
Yeah, you could replace it with a Rapier. I think that is an option. The Bash is not tremendously important. The other team will not build evasion other than really the Heaven's Halberd on Bristle, but it's not a huge deal, I guess.
Yeah, at least the Dazzle has a Solar Crest, so I mean there's...
Oh, actually, yeah, so Solar Crest plus, you know, if he just applies it to the Windrunner, which he will be doing, that's a decent mischance. You want the MKB for that more than Rapier, I think.
Okay. So That one brand new item seems so subtle, but it is very forceful in terms of making it so that you have to choose a specific avenue of attack. In fact, the Drow Ranger is the one here that hasn't actually countered it. The single hit from the Silver Edge backstab will give you a true strike, but every subsequent hit will not. So that would be a pretty important factor as well. It's also worth noting she has the Moonshard buff, so I didn't actually catch her pick that up, but she has spent her gold wisely and does have that seventh item slot in her buff bar.
Certainly no lack of money in this 80-minute game. Their 30k mark for net worth reached by 3 heroes.
What are last hits? 660.
They're gross, yeah.
581, 622. Jeez. Yep.
Beastly. And the poor supports Shadow Demon at 7.5k net worth. Poor guy.
Game is hard, but you know, all the same, they get the Assault Cross, so Bristol back pretty happy about that. It's not really the timing he was looking for. 78 minutes was probably, overestimation on that. But
use that little widget, the thing they had for TI4, the like timings.
Yeah.
This time is 38 minutes slower than your last Assault Cross.
Exactly, yeah. I can imagine those graphs just spreading out horizontally at this point in time. It's like if they had to push it to fill all the data and not clump it up, it would start pushing into the rest of the screen until your entire top half of your screen is covered by this graph.
Bristle needs a Lotus Orb. I really think that Lotus Orb is potentially, like late game, it can just win games out of nowhere. And I think it would be huge for him. Or anybody else on their team, really, but there's only a limited number of people who are going to make it. Meepo could make it, hee hee.
True. I mean,
he's still carting around with treads.
Oh, whoa, yeah. What in the world is that about? Is that seriously been on him the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's P-Chill.
I mean, like, the only way you would double up on Boots here that I could imagine is Guardian Greaves. Like, Boots and Travel Guardian Greaves.
Them during fights, like for stats. I don't know.
Yeah, that's 9 attributes in an 80-minute game.
Alright, please. I mean, you're not wrong. I'm doing my best here.
Ominous Hedge. He has the master 2-boot strat.
I mean, he doesn't have quite enough to do something like get rid of the treads, replace them with heart, and still have buyback. So I guess that's the logic. He hasn't really been farming. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Sniper has taken, since they were penned up in their base, Sniper's taken, I have to say, like, probably 90% of the farm.
Completely turned it over. I mean, one factor is how far away Sniper can still farm those creeps while Ominous Hedge puts himself in jeopardy. But another factor is he realized the Meepo has capped. This is as big as he gets. And, I can't believe I didn't even talk about it until this point in time, but one big aspect of Meepo towards the mid to late game is the experience spread. His Meepo, each Meepo clone, any level 25 hero still takes their share of experience. So if he puts them all next to this creep wave, that's Dazzle not getting those bonuses, and that's Shadow Demon not getting those bonuses. However, I will note that that's not always a bad thing. When you're at level 19 as a support, you almost don't want levels because of the death timer. Like, your stats aren't going to save you. We're scoffing at +9 stats, but we're essentially talking about, like, 20 more. Right. I really do feel like it's okay to, as long as you have level 16 on Shadow Demon and Dazzle, to kind of stay at that level. And going in for a play here, Wind Ranger, but the Shackle Shot is not the way you really want to start this fight. We're going to see some big damage coming out here onto the Morris. Long range pick from the Sniper, but he lives with 50 HP. Now going to be the AoE Finger of Death, not really doing much. And it's going to be Adma now, BKBing and running away. They're losing a lot of cooldowns, they're losing a lot of life, but nobody has yet to fall. Oh, they catch out Adma with the 5-man poof, and that is actually going to be a huge pickup here. Cookshot onto Gale Frost, could be a nice pick, but the Force Staff, the Glimmer Cape, it might be the Clockwork going down instead. Oh my! In the moment of hesitancy, the throws are coming out here, just too much pressure. And in the end, they crack. It's going to be the pickoff now, number 3, onto Flaming Panda here, but they do get Ominous Hedge. Oh, the E-Blade stops Wind Ranger. He doesn't have BKB for 6 seconds, and now he won't get a chance to use it. He's down for 2 minutes. Buyback will be required. And
Rouse is up in 25, so actually maybe they can't end this game before Drow buys back. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely, that was an amazing fight.
Yeah.
I feel before this series potentially ends, as Google makes a push, we should talk about the charities a little bit. Google's playing for Doctors Without Borders, and Microsoft is, I believe, put for the Bungie Foundation.
Exactly.
So 2 extremely worthy causes. Oh, they're fighting through backdoor now. The struggle's very real. Drow, 1 second until buyback for Drow. So actually, Google could have
Cheer Force. Oh, trying to try it a little bit here, poking and prodding. They've got the backdoor protection down, but we are going to be seeing a Force Staff outside of the cogs. Morris still looking for the play. Brings down Dazzle very quickly. Still the weave came out on a couple of heroes here. Now Figleaf staying on top of the sniper. He has to kill the clockwork, or the hook shot will always follow him. And here we see them connecting. Oh, Hex coming out on NWA. A big pickup if they see him, and they do. The Glimmer Cape dissipates, and the sniper will fall. Shadow Demon will get the TP away. But how many buybacks can they force? The sniper should be forced to buy back. I think the Dazzle might be able to hold his.
Maybe. We'll see. The sniper absolutely will be forced to buy back. I mean, keep in mind, Microsoft, that was all those 4 buybacks. They did not quite manage to end before the Drow, as we commented, but this game is still not over. Microsoft is going to barrel down. They're going to force the sniper buyback and potentially... Whoa, really? Oh, that's huge.
Getting the mini stun, canceling the TP of the Bristleback, caught out all by himself, isolated, and that is going to be another death for Google. Oh my gosh, this game back and forth, just incredible kills happening here. It's just obviously a bit of a misposition, and then it's the other team fully capitalizing on that in an instant.
I think it's not even a misposition. He needed to BKB TP against double boots of travel.
Yes.
You have to BKB TP in that situation.
I mean, hookshot's the only thing that would cancel a BKB TP, so that's where you just have to kind of say, okay, at this point I can push out a little bit, but if I'm gonna disengage, I disengage clean, even if it costs you a cooldown.
So Sniper has not bought back yet. It probably will be forced, but we'll see. They're going to try to hold as well as they can without him. Other factor is Clockwork still does have a cheese that could come into play in the next fight. We'll see. Shadow Demon doing the right thing, disrupting the Drow illusions. You want those counter Drow illusions, give yourself the aura, do some counter push. It looks like they might be able to save the Sniper buyback. That could be huge. We'll see.
Alright, so we do have a quick pause coming through here, and Guy has an audio problem, but a quick restart can help him out here, and that is going to be the time to talk about their potential to take high ground. So right now we are looking at apparently they've seen this one before, but yeah, so the Silencer here is building towards Refresher Orb. His buyback's on cooldown, so why not spend your money liberally at this point in time? Perseverance #1 in the stash, gem on the courier. But it looks like we're going to be seeing a little bit of high ground action right now. What would you wager the percent chances for Microsoft to actually take Google down on the high ground, considering their lack of buybacks?
I think they should not. I hate to say it, Blaze, but I don't think they should go high ground. I think they should back off, wait for buybacks, wait for rush number 75. I think it's just... Yeah, maybe they can force... If they could force Sniper buyback and escape, I think that's the best they could hope for. I actually don't think they could win the game here. I mean, there's like a 30% chance they win, and like a 30 to 35% chance that they just lose, I think. And then like a 30% chance that Snipers buys back and nothing happens, and they manage to escape somehow. So that's the kind of chances I'm not in love with when you're facing elimination. Whereas if they were up 1, I would say, yeah, why not? Go for it.
We're seeing the technical shots fired back and forth here. Pretty fun. Representing their brands proudly. This is a fun little crew here. But, you know, I gotta talk about a little bit about, like, the aspect of these guys. Nice. But these guys have obviously... This is a different group of people than a lot of viewers get to spectate, generally speaking. Like, you look at pro players, they're in their, you know, mid to late teens, or they're in their early 20s. They're usually all about quick on their reflexes and drinking their energy drinks and just doing that whole thing. Now we've got these guys. These guys have careers, they have corporate positions, and they have, you know, a few extra years behind them. At this point, we're talking about reflexes and talking about how the esports scene fluctuates in terms of how age gap kind of pushes players out of the scene. How would you compare these guys' performance just as far as mechanical skill to what we've seen in the pros. Do you think that they can still live up to it a little bit, barring they consider some strategic limitations?
I don't think reflexes really matter that much in Dota. I think it's knowing. I think 99% of the time it's knowing, like, what you have to do rather than being really, really quick with your fingers. Just because it's a pretty simple game compared to like StarCraft. Like, I can see the argument for StarCraft. Like, yeah, you're not going to maintain 250 APM.
APM for FPS or for.
But you don't need 200
RTS?
APM in Dota. You don't. Like,
Straight up.
Maybe Meepo. Let's hope that ominous Hedge has the chops. But no, I think their mechanics are all fine. I think the mistakes that the teams have made in the two games have really just been, like, game knowledge, tactical decision-making mistakes, which is how you lose Dota games. Like, it's only 1 out of every 200 Dota games that you lose because somebody shoots a Stormhammer at a boar, right? Like, yeah, that's going to happen sometimes, and you're not going to get into TI because of it, but it's most of the games you lose either a draft or because you made a weird choice or you were in the wrong place. And that's mostly practice. And I think that's why year after year you see the same players at TI, because that accrued experience matters a ton. It matters so much to have that, just tons of hours logged, and hours logged takes time.
Especially, like, considering late game scenarios. I mean, the amount of knowledge it has to take, and to in a split second make a decision to, like, suicide in Fountain for a buyback is something that can change a game in, like, a base race scenario. And when it comes down to it, more amateurish and younger teams are more veteran of the early game, because you're always going to have an early game. You're always going to have a laning phase that you can practice. So that's why you see, like, NEL, pub stars, and the younger guys being really good at controlling lanes and trying to dominate in that capacity, because when it comes down to it, less games means less experience in the clutch situations that we kind of see here, where every buyback matters, every decision is tested very carefully. But
I mean, I don't mean to say mechanics don't matter at all. They matter a ton.
Yeah, it's just compared to, like,
but the mechanics ceiling of this game compared to a truly difficult game.
First-person shooters, real-time strategy, APM is just a completely different metric.
APM, and also just, like, for FPS, obviously APM is a lot less important, but extremely precise eye-hand coordination, things like that. That's not present in Dota. It matters to some extent, but it matters a lot less.
So, I mean, we're going to be seeing this pause still take effect here. I mean, we can't really talk much about Radiant and Dire Vision. It hasn't changed too much here. Dire control the side lanes. Radiant obviously control inside their base. Avenues of initiation still are quite similar, I would say. And the Blink Dagger is back on the Wind Ranger in that slot you were talking about. Instead of the Aegis the Immortal, once that's gone, she's back to Blink. You were talking about the option of replacing that with Hex, and then obviously we both talked about MKB versus Divine. Would you, at this point, say it's a mistake to still hold the Blink Dagger, or it's a personal choice?
It's a choice. I mean, it can get you in and out of fights in certain situations. I understand why he wants to hold on to it. And more damage is more damage, right? Like, it's not going to change your life one way or the other. I think Hex, yeah. Certain unique items that can really change the game could be useful in that slot. And I think what he will do eventually is, like, start to do some swapping, like have the Blink sometimes and have Hex other times. Or yeah, I don't know. I think that's, like, I think it's not really game winning one way or the other. This game's mostly about who cracks under the pressure.
Sure.
So the Bungie Foundation, I didn't know that much about them. I'm reading up about them now. Seems like a cool charity. Obviously, Doctors Without Borders is a lot more famous.
Yeah.
So the Bungie Foundation is to reduce the distress and suffering of children. So it's a child-focused charity. They do programs like iPads for kids. So they staff hospitals, or not staff hospitals, they fund hospitals to obtain things like iPads to make sure that the kids who are sick, have entertainment, have an ability to get news from the outside world very easily, don't have to rely on crappy closed-circuit television.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So.
And that's Microsoft, I think. And then Google is Doctors Without Borders. Obviously, everybody knows about them. They do emergency aid, people who get caught in typhoons, earthquakes, hurricanes, all sorts of natural disasters, or even political disasters sometimes. Although that's, I guess, a little more the domain of the Red Cross. But I think both of them do a lot of that international work.
Yeah, definitely have something to contribute to it. So, looks like we've got our 10th member reconnected back to the game. Let's see if they've taken a breather, if they are able to come at it with a different approach here. But yeah, I think that there's obviously a potential for the game to swing in either direction. Right now, obviously we think that Google has the potential to hold the position perfectly fine with the buybacks, but Microsoft still want to force that sniper buyback, and let's see if they try to take that aggressive approach. For now, we're just going to see them kind of regrouping together a little bit, still pushing the lanes to an extent, but I guess they're really not worried about a jump. And oh, there's something they talked about here. Dagon 5 from Meepo on top of the Ethereal Plate, so power treads out the window, and lasers are now in play.
Yeah, I think this is gutsy, but I mean, other than the one Glimmer Cape, they don't have that much magic resist, so yeah, this could be a huge item. I think this is probably definitely the right call, combined with Ethereal Blade. If you had a non-BKB Drow or a non-BKB Windrunner, you can just... At this point, all their item pickups have to be game-winning by themselves to really justify them, and I think Dig on 5, yeah, this can win you games.
Add the Soul Catcher onto that, 50% increase to this combo, and you're going to be seeing some really big pain brought to certain targets. So it's all about forcing the BKBs. Maybe just throw the E-Blade out to force the BKB, and then if they pop that, you just back off as quick as you can, and they no longer have that cooldown to siege with. And of course, if they don't pop it, then you follow it up with Heavy Blast and punish their HP that way. So obviously a pretty unique pickup. The short cooldown is also pretty valuable, but I also want to talk a little bit about Ags on Lion. We really kind of glossed over that, but in the end, this is a pretty awesome item to have to make your hero that much more relevant in the late game. Like, oftentimes you see the Aghanim's picked up, and suddenly that Lion actually becomes a kill target. He has to be taken out, or 20 seconds later, he's going to be doubling up his damage output. Like that, he's a real threat. We see Roche go down very quickly. Aegis going back to the Wind Ranger. I think that's a really smart call, and Cheese will be held onto by... Okay, we're going to see a jump here. Meepo going right onto Flaming Panda. The Gust back, the Ominous Hedge. He's down already. We're going to see the hook shot. A beautiful Cogs locking in 4. It's a 4-man Finger of Death coming out here. Now we're going to see Araji dropping down to the last word. He will survive with 80 HP. They focus down on the Wind Ranger. She's going to be coming back up in just 3 seconds here. Sniper versus Wind Ranger going toe-to-toe. They get the Hex out. They lock her down, and they bring her down. And she is dead as a doornail. Only one buyback remaining. Drow will still remain in play, having barely scurried out of that one, and otherwise decision. You've got 2 Lions to hold your high ground. Really brilliant by Google. They waited many Roches, gave them to for free, realized that Microsoft at this point would just 100% assume that they definitely would not contest Roche and let their guard down. They absolutely know Wind Ranger doesn't have buyback. It's going to be a 5v2 push. I think Google at long last may have actually just out-decided. I don't know if I'm reading like these numbers are right, but for this, it's saying that the sniper did 14,000 damage that fight, and I'd almost believe it. Now we're gonna see Lion get some Earth Spikes next to his base. Don't fountain them. Go win. Yeah, the Fear Forwards are the objective. 1 Finger of Death coming out. Shadow Demon gonna go ahead and just force staff away, glimmering out. Now the Tier 4s dropping down very quickly. No Wind Ranger, just the Drow. She has to commit here, and they can just blink on her when she does. This seems like an unwinnable position. Oh my. It's been such a long run here. 88 minutes into this game. They had a really good run, but it is going to be Microsoft eliminated 2-0, and Google will take the win. What an incredible game of Dota 2 here we had to close out the After Hours Gaming League final, bringing it to the after hours. Really remarkable game. Microsoft played very well that game, very well, but in the end, Google just had a little bit superior decision-making. I think also the pause let them take stock a little bit and think about whether they wanted to contest the Roshan, and they realized that the strength of the sniper was finally enough that if they just kept him alive with all their defensive spells, he could win the game by himself, and that's what he ended up doing. Great play by Google. A very well-deserved win. 2-0, but very close 2-0. Yeah, a lot closer this game than the first one, but still all the more deserving here. I'm gonna say, I gotta say that he really shaped it up after a few deaths there in the mid game and pulled it back together. NWA, I mean, they talked about it in their pregame that they were really supportive of this player just getting farmed, just getting all the gold that he needed to make things happen, and it took some time, but in the end, 516 GPM in 88 minutes is pretty insane, and yeah, NWA was able to bring it out in the end. A couple of incredible fights for him, and that damage output is like record-breaking. It's just incredible. Well, thanks again, once again, for tuning in, guys. This has been awesome to have you on the broadcast in the After Hour Gaming League's finals for Dota 2. If you enjoyed the commentary, please look us up on Twitter. I myself am Blaze. You can follow me at BlazeCasting. And, of course, my wonderful, illustrious co-caster, Vykromond. You can follow him at Vykromond on Twitter. And it's been an absolute pleasure to cast these games for you guys. Just incredible Dota. Going long, and now I need to... you can see I'm sweating buckets here, and I need a quick restroom break before we go into the post-game interview. But that will be coming very shortly, guys. So we're going to see $1,200 will be going to Doctors Without Borders, thanks to Google's victory, and we will be going into a post-game interview with a member of their team very shortly. So once again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the interview, and you guys have a good night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the After Hours Gaming League, or after that match, maybe we should call it the After Hours Google League, as they pull it out after a really long Game 2, and that takes the series to 2-0. Now we're going to be going to some of the members of the two teams and talking about how that match played out and overall their tournament experience. Thanks once again for tuning in, and now joining me will be multiple members of Google and at least one of Microsoft. So we'll start with Google, whoever wants to come forward first. How are you guys doing?
I just yelled really loudly, so I'm pretty good.
Yeah, fun match, I think.
Definitely, you guys had a lot of fun with it, I'm pretty sure. I mean, obviously there was some stress, a little bit of fatigue maybe even, but overall, this was a pretty awesome match for you guys as far as, like, for your first game was pretty clean, a lot of map dominance there, but the second one, it probably had you guys sweating a little bit. At what point in time were you thinking you were probably going to lose the game, and what point did that turn around?
Yo, Yash, explain to him Protect the Kingdom. Just you do it.
So we have this strategy we developed in pubs where we managed to lose our safe lane and our mid lane and our off lane and then the mid game, and somehow we defend like high ground over and over again, lose racks, defend high ground, lose racks, and somehow pull the game out. So I don't know. We were behind obviously, but we were said throughout the game, you know, protect the kingdom as we call the strat.
I think that was me that started yelling it, right? Like,
yeah, but like personally, I don't think we ever I never had any doubt because like we played Microsoft before, like in the league, and we had a similar game. Like it was 2 hours long. Yeah, like it was 2 hours long.
Well, that was 6.83 though, right?
Yeah, but it was like just as long, and like I don't think we have any doubts when it comes to like 90, 100-minute games. So I think like we had the mental edge, like we were calm, we know exactly what we're doing.
Decision making is pretty good. So.
Yeah.
And like signature Google Dota is just like throw and then just do good stuff like game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I guess this is the first game you casted us, but if anyone like our friends who watch our pubs, it's like actually every single game. It's so funny.
Okay. So you guys feel pretty experienced in this kind of defensive position, late game Dota. You feel veterans in that regard?
That's like the only Dota we play.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, a question I have for Raj. Obviously, you're the carry player. You played a really good sniper last game, but one aspect was your early to mid game farm. It was kind of soaked up quite a bit by Paul on the Meepo.
Oh.
So, how do you feel about how you were able to transition from that early game into a winning position towards the late game?
So I'll say two things. The biggest thing is that normally when we played Meepo the last patch, I'd play like a high impact carry that can build a Midas. So a lot of times I play like a faceless void, so it's easier to scale that way. So we were thinking like, okay, what carry should I play? And like you said, when you click on Meepo, right, you're not going to get that much farm. And I wanted something that could contribute to some like, so obviously they're picking this drought strat, right? So something that can defend towers when they're coming and scale into late game and offer some stuff. I can cast some spells without items. But yeah, the thing is, like, I kept on getting owned by this Wind Ranger. Like, holy crap. Like, this one shackle he had in the beginning of the game put me on tilt for like 40 minutes. I was like, oh, I'm just getting owned. So he definitely outplayed me, but I just sat in base. And that's the thing with Sniper is the hero strength, you always have that option to just sit in your base. And if you can play around that idea, you can crawl your way back into the game. So, yeah. Yeah, my form was really bad. And then what happened was I got the MKB, and then I got the Drought and the Windrunner when they were up a lot of gold, and then I got like 6,000 gold from that team fight, basically. And then it became easier. And then we were in that position we know where it's like, okay, we probably can win a team fight. We just have to, force these buyouts and then do some shenanigans, yeah.
And there seemed to be a pretty clear mentality shift. Later on, the Meepo had at least 5 item slots fulfilled, and you looked at the sniper's items, you kind of said, okay, this is the hero we need to prioritize. Was it for that reason, or with the scaling factor, or was it more so because he's a safer farmer in that position?
Yeah, kind of, basically, yeah. So the idea is Meepo's actually not so strong late game, right? It's more of a anti-mage alchemist type carry that has a very good peak 40 minutes, but like my Meepo player, he didn't have a good game, at least to his standards for sure. Normally when we pick this, he gets his blink and then we just steamroll. Like if you watch our other games, we win the game in like 25-30 minutes. But yeah, when it get in this situation, the Meepo actually can't do that much with more items because he just gets owned by the Windrunner and the Dragon. So yeah, it's the sniper becomes like the main hero. Yeah, exactly like you said.
So you were talking a little bit about like the pickoffs, and you were talking about the like one key shackle shot that put you on tilt a little bit. The Meepo ate a lot of those once that Blink Dagger came out from the Wind Ranger. Is that what's the team dynamic when that kind of mistake happens? Is it you talk about positioning, you berate them, or you just shrug it off and move forward, protect the kingdom?
Yeah, we're just like, it's okay. The death is fine. Like we're still in this game. We're still gonna win. Like just don't worry about it. Like that's our mentality, I think, throughout the entire game.
I think it depends because in super late game situations, right, some deaths, like if you die really far from your base, it's not too bad, right? The deaths are really scary when you're in front of your base. So if you notice that game, I think like Yang was like,
oh yeah, I was on my bristleback.
He was like running up lanes and shit. I don't know, like 60 minutes or saying Yang and get back. It's like no, I'm fine. But then if you die like across the base, right, they have to wait for creep wave and run, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I think in general, it's very hard to play against a good Windrunner player. That hero is actually super scary. So it's not something where you can just say, oh, positional, because if you know how to play the hero, he'll get you with Blink. It's more of like, my idea was like, I'll just get MKB and then wait for him to go on someone, and then kill him. And eventually that started to work after like 65 minutes, right? Especially with the Shadow Demon. He'll just go on someone and try to kill him.
All right, so I know I've got one of the Microsoft guys in here. First of all, how you going? How you doing? Did you have a fun match?
Oh yeah, that was a great game. I'm the Wind Ranger player, the Morris.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a really fun game, but I will say it's like hitting a wall, going up high ground. Every time, bashing our heads over and over again. Sadly, our heads broke first.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. Cracked skulls there, but one question I had for you was about the pauses. Obviously, there was just a out-of-game factor pause, and then there was a technical issue pause. How did those extended delays factor into your game plan? Did you have time to kind of take a deep breath and look at the game overall and try to plan and get a new plan of attack, or was it more disruptive than anything in terms of you being used to everything going on?
I think it was more disruptive. You should have heard what Fig was saying in TeamSpeak, but like when you're pressuring the base like that, and you're kind of trying really, really hard not to die because your buybacks, I think our buybacks might have been down at the time, but it was just a big distraction, and I think right after that, as we went top, I think we started dying pretty soon after that. I'd definitely say it was disruptive.
Definitely. And one other thing was a decision that you guys made with a couple of your Roshans there, giving to the Aegis to somebody other than the Wind Ranger. Looking back, you kind of changed that, and I guess maybe you considered it a mistake in terms of your ability to maybe siege in a particular position. Can you give me anything about the dynamic there?
Yeah, the original idea was to kind of have me sit and focus fire the towers and try to just siege what we can, but that wasn't working too great, so we figured, because Sniper was just assassinating me over and over again, I'd go down to low health. We didn't really have an easy way to heal up, so we figured give it to someone else. I have Wind Run, I have ways to survive with BKB. But then when Sniper got the MKB, that's when it was like, okay, what can I do to live? There's not much. Definitely. Even with the global silence, I was just dying.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much the point of, I wouldn't say no return, but it definitely made it fighting uphill more literal than anything else. It was really difficult to hold that position without the Wind Run to fall back on, and still you guys put up an amazing fight, and I will commend you guys just for how well you stuck with it into the late game. You put up a great fight, and it was great to see you play some incredible Wind Ranger Dota.
Thank you.
So, going back over to Google, obviously you guys won this for charity over to Doctors Without Borders, so got to be feeling pretty good about that one.
Yeah, I believe one of our players is planning to match the donation as well. So I think we'll be donating more than 3,000. I think Paul's saying like 3,600 for Doctor Without Borders, right?
Yeah, he mentioned that at dinner the other day. Yeah, he was like.
Yeah, he says he's gonna match. So Doctor Without Borders is gonna get like $3,000 to self-pay.
Awesome,
Also,
awesome. That's great to hear.
If we donate, then Google also match a donation. So
Very
it's
cool.
basically
Oh, yeah.
a donation.
Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. All right, guys. Well, that pretty much talks all about the Dota stuff. Is there anything out of game that you guys want to talk about? Your progression through the tournament itself, or just overall the experience of have it kind of balancing a hectic work schedule with some casual Dota 2?
I think I can let others talk about it, but I definitely think we got a lot better as a team, actually. From even the first time we played Microsoft, these guys. Actually, the first time we had this 2-hour game against Microsoft, they actually outdrafted us so hard, and that made the game really, really hard. But we, I think we got a lot better as a team. And
We got down from 2 hours to only 80 minutes. It's a 40-minute improvement.
oh, jeez. But yeah, and I would say for balancing Dota, it's not so bad if you actually just really like playing with your teammates. So
Yeah.
and these guys are like my friends now, outside of work and stuff like that. So it's not so bad.
Definitely.
We're also total.
Sorry?
Sorry, we're also total tryhards. So finding time to like practice and stuff. It was just like, oh, we want to win, so we're gonna practice. We're gonna practice these drafts, practice these strats. Play these heroes. It wasn't like a chore to like practice. It was just something that we wanted to win. We're having fun playing, so we just did it.
All right, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for me. It was an absolute pleasure to watch you guys play those games, especially that second one. That was just absolutely intense, and hopefully you enjoyed the cast as well later on. But I'll not take any more time from you guys. You guys have a nice night, and thanks for the amazing games.
Yeah, thanks for casting us, Blaze.
Yeah,
Especially
thank you very much.
games
Yeah,
too.
Thank you.
Thanks for casting.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Good night.
Night.
All right, well, as said, that's going to wrap it up for us for here on the broadcast. Thanks for tuning in to the After Hour Gaming League. Thanks for joining us here for Google versus Microsoft. The end result being Google 2-0ing it over Microsoft. A lot of fun there, but yeah, they were the favorites, and they show their next level strat there. It's okay to lose a couple of racks, bounce it back. It's still kind of 6.83-esque, but yeah, you get that comeback mechanic, and it was really crazy. Honestly, that was one of the more back and forth games of Dota 2 I've ever cast. So it was an absolute pleasure for me, and hopefully you guys enjoyed as well. Once again, this is Blaze Casting, and thanks for tuning in.